Hey everyone! Where is everyone watching from today? Welcome to the chat. We'll start the lesson right at the top of the hour, so everyone here is early. We have an intermediate level lesson today about the form 기만 하다. So there are a few prerequisites you want to know before you start the lesson. The main one being knowing how to conjugate verbs. Since this is an intermediate level lesson, you should be good with conjugating verbs before starting. Also, you want to know how to use the if or when form 면. So like 하면, you want to know what that means already. And then you also want to be familiar with the particle 만, meaning only. So like 저만, like only me. Or 저만 사과만 먹습니다. Only I eat only apples. You just want to know how to use all these things for today. So yeah, we'll get started right at the top of the hour. Before that, let me know where you're watching from. It's always different every single time where we have people watching from. Let's see, we got someone in Alabama. I can't help but pronounce it like Alabama whenever I read it. Welcome, Chris. Last one standing, France. Sweden, Turkey. How are you doing? Feeling doing good. Doing good. I had a Korean food for lunch, so I'm like really full. Michigan, Germany, Botswana, Italy. Italy, the one place I want to visit besides France in Europe. I want to go to France just to steal all the food. And then I want to go to Italy because then I'll steal all your food. So that's my two spots that I'll visit someday if I can do a Europe trip. I'd like to. Maybe I'll go there like, I don't know. Well, if sometime in the future I'll go there for like my 20th wedding anniversary or something like that. I don't know. Someday I'll go there. It'd be nice. Eat all the food. I'll find like the best croissant in France, and I'll find like the best pasta in Italy. And I'll steal one of each. Chicago, nice. Arizona, England, Scotland. Definitely do both France and Italy in one go. The best countries in Western Europe. That's what I want to do that. You're very welcome to come and steal our fruit. I mean, I'll pay for it, but I'm going to steal it first. I'll pay exactly what it costs after I steal it. And they'll be none the wiser. Like, sir, what are you doing? You're just leaving. I'm like, yeah, I got to go. I put my money on the table. Don't tell anyone. They're like, what are you talking about? You don't want your change? I'm like, shh. Central California. Your foodie heart will be in bliss. Yes. France has what I understand to be the best food in the entire world due to their history of like competing to have more fancy, better, different, unique types of food. Although, yeah, every country has its dishes that are like amazing. France has like a lot. Ooh. You said, I thought man was just only. What's the difference between this and that and this version? This is the same particle. It's just used in a grammar form. But yeah, if you want to already know this, if you said you already know this and you're sure or not, like, what's the difference between that and what we're using today? That's what we'll answer for today, but it's not a different version. We're doing the exact same thing. This is just the pieces of the form we're already going to be learning today in the lesson. So if you're not familiar with them, well, you can still do this lesson, but it's really meant to be a form that you can use by building on previous bits of grammar that you should already know. So yeah, you want to know these already. And then if you're good with that, you'll be able to use the form. Otherwise, you'll definitely be able to understand the form. I'll make it simple. But if you want to actually be able to use it yourself, you should already be familiar with this sort of thing. Mississippi. How do you spell Mississippi with one I? Yeah, I'm not going to do that. You should try typical Southern Italian dishes. So delicious. What is a Southern Italian dish? I don't know what the difference is between like the Northern Italian or the Southern Italian or anything like that. 안녕하세요. Poland. Yes, Paulina Carolina, you're from Poland. Watching Poland. What food does Poland have? Poland's got a lot of good food. I'm trying to think. What's specifically from Poland that they have? Every country's got like some major, like amazing dish. But yeah, I can't think of what Poland's main dish would be. Because I'm kind of getting confused with other food that could be considered in the from a similar region. Dad jokes have been activated. Pierog. That sounds familiar. I'm going to Google it. Ah, yeah. It looks like a blintz. Yeah, it looks like a blintz. Is it the same thing as a blintz? For us, the Swedish meatballs. Swedish? No, you get Swedish fish. Definitely the most traditional representative food from Sweden is the Swedish fish, right? Galumkis, angel wings, lots of Polish food. Those look really good. I've had blintzes if it's like anything like that. Although blintzes are specifically like blueberry blintzes, stuff like that. I'm not sure if that's similar type of thing, but yeah, it looks good. I can imagine what that would be like. Actually, each region here in Italy has its own typical dishes. One you should definitely try is Troccoli. Is that how it's pronounced? It sounds like broccoli, but with troccoli. What is that? What is troccoli? Ah, it's like spaghetti. Square all oval cross section, typical of the food compared to spaghetti. Looks a little different. Ah. It's like, yeah, it's like spaghetti, but not spaghetti meatballs. Because we hear spaghetti and all we know is the tomato pasta. I mean, the tomato-based sauce with meatballs and that. But then there are other ways you can prepare it. So it kind of seems like that. Pierogi is more like mandu. Okay. I think the best Italian food is pizza. I would disagree. I would say the best American food is pizza because, yeah, Italy has pizza. Technically, it's the home of pizza, right? But when you think of a pizza in the US nowadays, we don't think of like the thin crust, like the, what's that? I'm having a blank. The pizza that's just the tomato sauce and mozzarella cheese. We don't really think of that so much. We'll think of like pepperoni pizza, which obviously is not an Italian thing. You want some like greasy pepperoni pizza that's just covered in cheese, right? That where you pick it up and the cheese is just like that music starts playing and it has like pepperoni that's like crispy on the top of it. That's like what I think about when I think about pizza, and that's an American pizza. I'm sure Italy has very good pizza, but I want the greasy garbage, and that's American, okay? So I prefer American pizza over the Italian pizza that I've tried. Now, Italian pizza is also very good. There are some Italian restaurants here in Southern California. I've tried a lot of Italian-style pizza. It's very good, but I prefer the garbage stuff I can get at like Little Caesars or Domino's, right? There are a couple local restaurants. I kind of prefer that, I think, most of the time. It's less healthy, therefore better. It's not really spaghetti. Okay. Oh, Billy, reverse engineer the Subway cookie dough. Put it next to the Toll House dough in the supermarket. I will buy. Yeah, that would be dangerous. That's like legalizing drugs. I wouldn't support that. For the same reasons. New York City pizza. Yeah, New York pizza is like, you just walk into like literally everywhere. Anywhere. There's some random store on like, you don't even know what it is. Some random like dude opened his own store. You walk in, it's like the best pizza of your entire life. And the guy's like, okay, $3, whatever. Like they don't care because it's like normal. You can find really good pizza like that in California, but you have to look. You have to like really search to find the best places. New York, it's just called a pizza. My go-to is a greasy burger. Oh man, so there is the best hamburger I've ever had in my entire life, anywhere in the world, was here in California. Now, I've had a lot of burgers because, you know, I go over to like, you know, there's Red Robin. There's a couple local places here. There's some really good hamburgers around California and just in the U.S. There was this one random place in a city called Victorville. So if you would know it if you drive through from Los Angeles, you go up to Las Vegas, you can drive through some like places that are kind of like not too many people live there or whatever. But if you find it, it was called Apollo Restaurant. Oh man, I've had a lot of hamburgers. This was like a different level. I doubt anyone here knows what I'm talking about because most of my subscribers don't even live in the US, let alone Southern California. But if you know what I'm talking about, that was the best. I can't even describe it. It was so good. I took my Korean friend visited our place early this year, and we took her there, and she agreed it was the best hamburger she'd ever had in her life. UFO burgers? I don't know what that is. The funny thing is pepperoni is an actual Italian word, which means pepper. That's right. Yeah, I heard it's actually an Italian word, but doesn't mean the thing that it is. Pepperoni pizza. Why do we call it pepperoni? That's a good question for some dude who invented it. Your Korean street food, the UFO burger. No, it's not. I like Korean food. I love Korean food. Obviously, I like Korean food, but I'm not a big fan of foreign food in Korea so much. I think that most of the time it misses the mark. Now, there are exceptions. You can find sometimes like really good of a specific country within Korea if you go to the right places. But overall, in general, you'll find a lot of Koreanized foreign food, but it's hard to find actual foreign food within Korea. The UFO burger, I've heard of that. I wasn't interested in trying. It didn't look that good to me. I'm sure it's good if you live in Korea and that you can't really get access to some of the other food you get in other places. But I mean, it's compared to LA where we have like literally everything. So I guess I'm kind of spoiled living here in LA. Hey, Billy, I've been studying Korean for about a year and a half. I watched your videos and I'm currently using Talk to Me in Korean. I've been struggling with memorizing grammar, vocabulary, anything specific. Oh yeah, for everyone who's coming in right now, wondering what's going on. We always start these classes right at the top of the hour. So we haven't started yet. We're just talking about food, which we do a lot. Why don't you come on a trip to Iran so I can introduce you to the best food in the world? That would be absolutely incredible. I saw a video once of some dude that was like just riding a motorbike through Iran, and maybe you know what I'm talking about. It was pretty popular. I think that guy like died or something like that. Anyway, but like the people look like super cool. The food looked like super good. Everything about that just seemed so cool. But it's just one of those places that I don't think is safe for me to travel. Like there are a lot of places like that in the world where like I really, really want to go there someday, but I can't or I shouldn't, you know. North Korea is another one. I would love to visit North Korea someday. Not doing it in its current situation. Hey, Kai! Hey, Kai! Happy Sunday! Kai is our first donation today. I do take donations. They are definitely not required, but if you're able to, I definitely do appreciate them. They buy my food, like my lunch today. Hi, Billy. Happy Sunday. In need of some external motivation pressure. Can you yell at me and tell me to study so I can make it my study affirmations? Do it! 그냥 해. 아니, 어제 내일 할 거라고 그랬어. 그러니까 그냥 해. 불가능한 거 아무것도 없어. 너의 꿈을 실현시켜. 아니, 뭘 망설이고 있는 거야? 그냥 해. There, go do it. It's mostly memorizing vocab, nouns, particles. I forget which instances to use them. It's really hard to remember. I'm planning to be a missionary in Korea one day. Any tips on memorizing? Okay, so memorizing just words. Memorizing is something that will never, this is like the fact, the truth about it is that memorizing stuff like writing it down again, flashcards, all of that is supporting the main way that you're actually memorizing things, the way that your brain works, which is being able to use it, hearing it being used, recognizing the word, using it yourself. This is what is actually getting you to memorize those words. All of the vocabulary review, which you do need to do, is like, it's like feeding your machine. It's giving you ingredients to use when you're ready, but you're not going to memorize it. It's just going to keep turning around like never-ending conveyor belt. And once you've used that word and gotten to see it used in real life, then you'll actually memorize it. Then you have it memorized. Then you'll internalize it. You're like, oh, I understand. You know, I now I can recognize it. I can kind of feel how it's different than another word. But until you get to use it, those words are just like this. Like, you don't really know those words. They're not really memorized. Even though you can pull one out and be like, oh, look at this word I have. That doesn't mean you actually internalized it. So you need to keep doing vocabulary studies so you have words to work on, but that's not going to get you to where you need to be. So you don't need to worry so much about, oh, I can't really remember these words. The problem is not that part. The problem is here, something here that's preventing you from actually being able to solidify those. So I'd take another look at what things you're actually doing for your Korean practice. What listening practice are you doing? Are you doing any speaking or writing practice at all? That's the thing I would look at. I wouldn't bother looking at this part yet until you have a way for you to actually get use out of them, to recognize them. Billy, nice haircut. Thanks. I cut it short because it was getting too long. As I did with my hair reveal the other time, you saw how it was coming all the way down to here. It almost looked like a wig. It was just so long. So yeah, I cut it. So basically practice conversations. Yeah. I mean, the best way you're going to be learning Korean is going to be talking with people, having conversations with people, but that's not accessible to everyone. And you don't need to necessarily only do that. There are other ways you can get your listening practice. There are other ways you can get your speaking practice through chatting with people, you know, sending messages, recording yourself talking, writing text messages, stuff like that. Still works. Let's see. A total lack of friends who speak Korean. Yeah, you need some friends or people that you know, acquaintances that speak Korean. I'm trying to study for TOPIK, but the amount of vocab is 미쳤어. Going crazy. There are a lot of words for TOPIK, but yeah, if you're studying for TOPIK, you just want to study the TOPIK. So they used to make, at least they probably still do. These were my books back when I was a short period of time when I was preparing for the TOPIK, a long time ago. So these no longer are applicable today, but it's really just TOPIK practice questions. Anyway, don't get this book because this is, like I said, very outdated now. Just a bunch of practice problems. And you just read the previous year's tests. You learn all the vocab that appears there, and that's all you do. And then you'll be ready for the next test. But there are tons of words you have to memorize. Yeah, if you just do lots of practice tests, though, it'll get a little bit easier. Daily writing practice. Yeah, daily writing practice is good, though keep in mind that the way you write won't necessarily be the way that you speak. There are some people in the Discord channel, my Discord as well as other Discord channels, you'll find that have people who are speaking Korean that you can also practice with. So you don't necessarily have to have like a good friend. You can just have someone who you talk with online, and you can find them, like I said, in Discord, some in my Discord channel. There's some in other Discord channels. You'll find them in everywhere online. Here, I'll post my Discord again. Okay, we'll start the lesson in 5 minutes. So just giving you an update. Is there such thing as online calls where you call native speakers who know English and you can practice using conversations and vocab with? Yes, there are. It's called hiring a tutor. You can hire a Korean tutor. Find the cheapest Korean tutor online who is similar to your age. So like not way different, because, you know, if you're talking with someone who's much older, you're going to get different Korean. Kind of similar to your age, preferably the same gender, unless you want to speak a certain way, preferably, and hire them to call you, like do a 30-minute call twice a week. Like a lot of them have 30-minute sessions just with a native Korean. They'll just call you, they talk, they wait, you know, they'll restate things. If they'll try to understand you when you're making sentences. Something like that is great. And you don't need a ton of time. You don't need to do like 8-hour session or whatever, 5 days a week. You can just do a little bit, but you want to do it consistently. Rationalist says, currently working through your beginner playlist. Oh, nice. The beginner Korean course. I have pre-ply discount link. Yeah, they give out, there's pre-ply, there's italki, there are a couple others. They're all the same. Like they're really all the same because the systems are different. The amounts that they actually pay the tutor, like the commission fees, are different. The system is different, but the tutors are going to be the same because the tutors, for the most part, the tutors are just signing up on all of the websites that they can find that people use. So you're going to find the same tutors, although it's not all the same. A lot of the same people will have accounts on multiple platforms. So yeah, check anywhere you can find them. No, I need to go Purity Sansangnim, and it's not even started. I have to watch the abridged version. As a sign of gratitude, I'll chokoli for you next time. Okay. Wani, you're welcome. I practice in HelloTalk rooms and don't have a Korean friend. Okay, yeah, HelloTalk has some rooms. I used to use those apps more often, but lately I'll say they've seemed to they pivoted their business model to focus mostly on making money and not enough on the language learning aspect of the apps. So I don't use them as much as I used to, but it's good that there's still people using them. Yeah, there are some rooms they have, like just basically group chats where people will talk with each other, and usually it'll be hosted by a native Korean. Little Miss Smiley says, I'm also working on the beginner courses. Nice. Once you finish the beginner course, you can try the conversation course, which is also completely free. And everything that the conversation course lesson 1 does not have any Korean vocab or grammar that's not already taught in the beginner course, which is kind of cool. I developed it as a sequel, even though the format is completely different. It doesn't seem like it. It's actually a direct sequel to the beginner Korean course. So people were asking me, is there like an intermediate version of the Korean course? The answer is yes. It's just, let's just do some full conversations. So yeah, you'll get to go straight from the beginner course, which is kind of like they're curated conversations. They're meant to be for practicing the grammar forms, into like full 100% native level conversations with no filtering, like exactly how you'll hear people talk with, like, you know, mistakes and pauses and everything. So yeah, check that out if you haven't already. All right. Oh, Mikey, I was just about to start, but Mikey just sent a donation. Mike E. Mikey, thank you so much. Mikey says, tell Kai to study more. Kai, I thought we already had this conversation. How many times do I have to teach you this lesson? Do it. Do it. Do it now. Study more. Billy, what's the ideal realistic study day for internet intermediate, lower to mid-level. What did you do? So intermediate, realistically, is once you're out of the beginner level where you're spending most of your time just with your face in a book, you know, you're trying to make sentences. Intermediate is when you can start to make most sentences. Like you can say most of what you want to say, even though it's not in the way you want to say it. Intermediate should be a huge pivot where you increase the amount of exposure you're getting to the language as much as possible, like tenfold. So you really want to have more time spent in immersion resources than just grammar and vocabulary for intermediate. You still need to study vocabulary, you still need to study grammar, but the amount that you're doing of listening practice and speaking practice, that needs to be way higher, because otherwise you're going to fall. I mean, you don't have to, you could continue the way you're going, but what will happen if you don't will be something called the intermediate plateau, which is where you're learning all this random stuff and you're not sure what your level is because you don't have a way to look back and see how you've improved, because your Korean is like going to be stuck at the intermediate level. It feels like, although you're getting bigger, it's just the intermediate level is that big. So, I mean, we can talk about this more after the lesson as well. If you ask me, I'll kind of give some more examples, but you want to have more listening practice. I'll just say that. That's the simple way. And then I'm going to start the lesson. Okay. Thank you, both of you. Now let's get started with the lesson. We're going to be learning two related forms today, and they both start like this. You take a verb stem, you attach ki, followed by man, and then the verb hada. Now this can be any verb. Action verb, like you're doing something, like 먹다, to eat, 먹기만 하다. Or it can be a descriptive verb, like to be cold, 춥다, 춥기만 하다. You don't have to change anything no matter what verb you're doing. There are no exceptions to this. This is the whole form. You have now mastered how to conjugate an intermediate level grammar form. So give yourself a pat on the back. No, I'm just kidding. That's it. That's the entire form. So what does this form mean? Well, it's actually very simple. This here, you might recognize this. This is a regular particle that you attach after a noun. So you have a noun and you attach man, and this is just a beginner level particle, and it means only. So if you say like 저 for me, 저만, only me. If you say like 사과, like apple, 사과만, only apples. So you could say like 저는 사과만 먹어요. I eat only apples. Or 저만 사과를 먹어요. Only I eat apples. No one else touches them. No one else eats apples. Like that. So that's all it is. Now I said man is used after a noun. So where is the noun? Well, this part here with a verb stem is a noun. This is what's known as nominalization, which is a fancy word for turning a verb into a noun. So when you use this form, verb stem plus ki means that verb is now a noun. We might call this a gerund in English, if you're familiar with English terminology. Like 먹다, to eat, 먹기, eating, right? 가다, to go, 가기, going, 하다, 하기, doing, 춥다, 춥기, being cold. Yes, it works for any verb, but now it turns it into a noun. So we have a verb turned into a noun, and then we add the particle man, meaning only. So the meaning we get of this form so far is only the noun form of the verb. So if we have the example 먹다, eating only. So only eating is literally what we would get if we did 먹기만. So only eating. This 하다, you might be familiar with this verb as meaning to do, but it actually doesn't always mean to do. 하다 by itself means to do, but in certain grammar forms, it can also mean to be. So it kind of works like ida, to be, But here, if you attach it after an action verb, you can think of it as to do. And if you attach it after a descriptive verb, you can think of it as being to be. So for example, 먹다, to eat. 먹기만 하다, to do only eating. That's the literal meaning of this verb. That's the literal meaning of this form. And that's the practical meaning of it too. 춥다, to be cold. 춥기만 하다, to be only cold. Okay, so literally that's what this means. You're either only doing something or something only is, whether it's with a action verb or descriptive verb. Now, this man here, this particle, you can think of man as meaning not just only, but also just. This might help for making a more natural translation. So if we were to say, 먹기만 해요, 해요, conjugating it, to do. So 저는 먹기만 해요. So I do only eating. So I only eat. Or just, I just eat. As in, the only thing that I'm doing, if it's an action verb, or the only thing that I am, if it's a descriptive verb, is this verb. That's what this form means. It's a literal and practical meaning. We're not done though. There are some other ways we're gonna translate it, but that is pretty much the whole form, because it always literally means, it is just a literal translation. It's not like it doesn't have a separate meaning when it's used this way. I'll leave this up for a second and then we'll go on to our first sentence. No exceptions, a happy guy. Yeah. Do you conjugate the hada? Yes, you do. Yes, it's ing. Is Little Miss Smiley asks, is gi the eat part? No. You might not be ready for this lesson yet, but just so you know, the eating part would be the verb if you use the verb to eat. The 먹기 would be the eating part. 먹기 would be eating. 하기 would be doing. 가기 would be going. 보기 would be seeing, like that. So it just depends on what verb you're using here. So literally, someone or something only does, literally does, only the verb. So this form is simply a way to use man, the particle man, with a verb instead of a noun. Because normally we used it with just a noun, right? We said, 저는 사과만 먹어요. I eat only apples. That's only with a noun. But if you wanted to say, I only eat, as in I don't do anything else, all I do is eat. 저는 사과를 먹기만 해요. All I do is eat apples. It doesn't mean that I eat only apples or that only I eat apples, but it means that the only action that I do, I don't sleep, I don't breathe, I don't walk around. All I'm doing is eating apples. Do you not understand how much I like apples? That's literally the only thing I do is just eat apples and more apple. You get the idea. That's what this form is used. So you can use this form to use man with a verb instead of just a noun. So to only or to just do something if it's an action, or be something if it's a descriptive verb. Okay. You'll see some examples. It's very simple form. What makes it intermediate is that it uses several things together. But the way that it works is very simple. This is it. We have another version of this we're also going to do with 하면, which has some extra translations, but it's also the same form. So let's do an example. I want you to make this sentence. You're going to say, I want you to say the apple is only pretty. Now, what does that imply? You're saying that apple, 그 사과는. So that apple is only pretty. What does it mean if you say something is only pretty? Again, something is only or is just pretty. Think about this. Tell me in the chat. What does it mean? Because this is where the only thing that's difficult about this form is finding a good translation for it. Because what does it mean when you say, if you say someone only eats spaghetti, well, that's easy to understand. It means they don't do anything else except eat spaghetti all day, spaghetti meatballs, which are really good. I do happen to eat only spaghetti meatballs every single day, all day, every day, 3 meals a day. That is all I do. But if you're saying that something is only something, what does that imply? And I want you to try to make this conjugation. That apple is only pretty. Yeah, Mikey, yeah. It looks good. Okay, it can imply that, yeah. 예쁘기만 해요. Yes, Keith. Our first perfect sentence. 예쁘기만 해요. Yes, Paulina. Perfect. Yes, 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 yes! Paulina, you have it. Keith, you've got it too. It just means that there are no other features that are noteworthy. So when you want to emphasize something, like it is pretty, but that's it. That's all it's got going for it. That's what it implies. When you're using this with a descriptive verb, it implies that it's all that it's got going for it. Like everything else is not that. Everything else is bad. You can say, well, I mean, all that person is, or all that thing is this, and they have nothing else going for them. So if you were to say, that apple is only pretty, you're implying that maybe it's like rotten, maybe it's gross, maybe it's like boring, maybe it's not ripe, anything like that. Maybe it's expensive, like it's ridiculously expensive. 그 사과는 예쁘기만 해. Like you see an apple that's like $20 at the store. It's like golden coated. But you know that apple is disgusting. You've tried it. It's like, it like hurts your teeth. It's not sweet. So, 예쁘기만 해. It's only pretty. So when you say something is only something, you are implying that it doesn't have any other things that you need to note to say. There's nothing else noteworthy except for what you're saying. Yes, Emily VBR, nice. Aria, nice. So let me give you the sentence. This is like the apples, you know, the standard dark red apples they have at the grocery store that are slightly coated in wax just so that they're shiny. Those ones are like this. They're gross. They're like too soft. They don't have much texture to them. They're not especially sweet. And they don't really have much flavor either. Their flavor is kind of just like apple juice flavor. You know what are really good? Fuji apples are really good. What else is really good? There are a couple other apples that are like, yeah, like really good. Okay. 그 사과는, that apple, 예쁘기만 하다. So this is implying it is only pretty, as in, it doesn't have anything else going for it. All it has is being pretty. It's only pretty and 하고 맛이 없어서, because it doesn't taste good. 없어서, 맛이 없다. 없어서, because it doesn't taste good. 안 사요. I'm not buying that apple because it doesn't taste good. That apple's only pretty and doesn't taste good, so I'm not buying it. 그 사과는 예쁘기만 하고 맛이 없어서 안 사요. So that apple is just pretty and doesn't taste good, so I don't buy it. Cosmic? Honeycrisps are okay. I like Honeycrisp. I don't know if I would give them the win, but they're pretty good. Yeah. Red Delicious I don't know if those are the worst, but they're only marginally better than the apples that you use to make apple pie. And I only say that because if you're comparing it with the apple pie apples, which you're not really supposed to eat. Those ones are not supposed to be eaten. They're supposed to be boiled and then cooked or baked or whatever and put into pie, in which case they taste really good. But if you're eating them, they're like disgusting and mushy. So yeah, that's like the red delicious, more like red gross. Am I right? But usually red delicious are the one that you get like in lunch meals, and they look pretty. They're just not that good. Cosmic? I haven't had the cosmic ones. What percentage of the time do Korean pears taste suitably sweet to you? If you get a good one, they're really nice and sweet. You're talking about the Hanguk Pei, the pei. Those ones are really round. In America, we have them too, called Asian pear, but the ones we have in the US are smaller. The actual Korean ones are big and round, like a small bowling ball. Those ones are really good. If you get them in season, really crispy, really sweet, but not overbearing. And the texture is just so good. It's like every bite is like really crispy. Yeah, Asian pears are the closest you can get. And Asian pears work fine when you're making like kimchi. If you're doing cooking, Asian pears can be substituted 100% of the time. Totally good. You'll never notice. But for eating them, the Asian pears are much harder. They're kind of more like a Bosc pear in the US, which are really good. But Bosc pears, I think, are better eaten with like cheese or something. They're like good for crackers and like snacking and stuff. Okay, totally going off track. 그 사과는 예쁘기만 하고 맛이 없어서 안 사요. So that apple is only pretty and it doesn't taste good, so I'm not buying it. Okay. I want you to write a sentence. I want you to write, that cat only sleeps. I want you to say our cat, or you can say that cat, doesn't matter, only sleeps, as in they don't do anything else with their life. They don't study. They don't get a job. They don't get a girlfriend. Just stay at home all day and sleep. That was my cat. Granny Smith? Granny apples are, yeah, they're sour. They're good for caramel apples. If you're gonna have a caramel apple, caramel's like super sweet and everything. So you don't want a sweet apple with the caramel ones. That's why they usually make them with the Granny Smith apples. Yeah, they're pretty good. I just don't like eating them by themselves. I think they're good with caramel, or like dipping in caramel is good. Gala apples are good. I don't think that's a basic. I think that's a pretty sophisticated palate. Gala apples are pretty good. Kind of want to try a golden coated apple. You can. They sell gold leaf on Amazon for like $8 for like a small pack. And it's really thin. So you can coat it over anything you want and then eat it. It's safe to eat. I mean, gold's not going to hurt you unless you're eating a lot of it. Yes, Paulina. Perfect. 그 고양이가 잠을 자기만 해요. 우리 고양이는 자기만 해요. Nice, Mikey. 자기만 해요. Nice, Aria. 자기만 해요. Sue Amazing. Maddie. Yes. 잠자기만 해요. Yes. 자기만 해요. Yes. 자기만 해요. Granny Smith and peanut. Oh, yeah, that's a good combination. Yeah, I wasn't thinking about that. You're right. Not just caramel, but also peanut butter. If you want peanut butter and apples, again, you don't want an apple that's sweet. You want something like a granny apple, like the green apples, because they're kind of sour and they contrast with the peanut butter really well. Oh, get some good peanut butter. Like nice, chunky peanut butter. Okay, does anyone have a Winco next to their house? Is this only a Southern California thing? Winco is like Costco, but you don't need a membership for it. It's employee owned, so it's really cool. And it's like Costco, but you don't have to buy the whole pack of everything. It's like small bulk Costco. And they're great. If you have a Winco in your area, definitely go. And one of the things that Winco stores have is they have like aisles of, you can dispense your own, like snacks, cereal, ingredients, pasta, all that. You get a bag, you know what I'm talking about. Other stores will have this a little bit, like maybe for the nuts section or something. Winco has it for like everything. You can do like dispense your own sour belts, like gummy bears, like literally everything, like chocolate pretzels. And they also have dispense your own honey. It doesn't squeeze a bee, but they have the honey and you can dispense it. And then they have another one, which is really cool. They have like multiple stations of dispensing your own peanut butter. So they'll have like peanuts and cashews and almonds. And what it is literally you can see them and then there's a blender at the bottom and the blender like crushes them up and spits them out. It is so good. That peanut butter is so good, I swear. Yeah, if anyone doesn't know what I'm talking about, look for the closest Winco near you. Go check it out. It's really cool. Apple Lobby took the lesson. I wish the Apple Lobby would pay me. I wish any company would sponsor me. Okay. You got the sentence. I'm just going to add a little bit more to it. Okay. 우리 고양이는, my cat, literally our cat, as in our family cat, 밥도 안 먹고, 밥도 안 먹고. So doesn't even, literally 밥도, even rice, even a meal, 안 먹고. So doesn't even eat, and 잠을 자다, sleep. 잠을 자기만 해요. So 자기만 해요. All it does is sleep, doesn't even eat. So our cat doesn't even eat, it just sleeps. Which doesn't really sound like most cats I know. They'll eat a lot and then they'll go to sleep. So like they would eat and sleep and that's all that they would do. Mostly eat. 우리 고양이는 밥도 안 먹고 잠을 자기만 해요. So our cat doesn't even eat and only sleeps. I've only been to Sam's Club. Yeah, it's nothing like Sam's Club. Sam's Club is like a copycat of Costco with membership fees. Winco is like the utopia of Costco. If Costco was owned by its employees, you would have Winco. And it's fantastic. Now, you don't get the bulk discounts like you do from Costco. So if you want to buy like 12 packs of whipping cream, you're going to get them at Costco. But if you don't need that, then Winco's better in every way. Okay. 우리 고양이는 밥도 안 먹고 잠을 자기만 해요. So our cat doesn't even eat and only sleeps. Okay, we have one more sentence for this form, and then I want to move on to another version of this form that you're going to see really often. So I said that man can translate as only, or it can translate as just. So if we translate it as just in this case, it'll be a little bit more natural. So 조용히, quietly, from 조용하다, to be quiet. 듣다, to listen. So 하세요, in this case is a command. So do only listening quietly is what this literally means. But if you think of it as just listen quietly. Literally, just do listening quietly. So just listen there. Just listen quietly. Like don't talk. Can you just listen quietly, please? 조용히 듣기만 하세요. So again, this is a command, but it can be used any way you want. Last one standing. Dang. Dude, you just bought me so many apples. From the app, I'm gonna have to write your donation down here or else it'll take up too much space over there. From the Apple lobby. I didn't know I had a fan from the Apple lobby. Thank you. So what Apple are you promoting? What Apple do you want me to get people to buy? I'll plug it. Give me a discount code. Apple 20 to get 20% off your first order and free shipping. Again, that is Apple 20. Make sure to use my code and get yourself some discounted apples. This video has been sponsored by Big Apple. Yes, big, crispy, juicy, everything you ever want in an apple. Uh, Pink Lady. Okay, I haven't tried the Pink Lady, but I see them every time I go to Trader Joe's. Trader Joe's, for those of you who aren't from the West Coast, I don't know if they have them on the East Coast, but in the United States, Trader Joe's is a distributor that sells like high quality. It's like Whole Foods, but without the prices. That's the best comparison I can do. It's a Whole Foods market, but realistic prices. And they have a lot of unique items that only they distribute. They also have like, you know, eggs and milk and bananas are all really cheap and good quality. But they have a lot of interesting items, and they sell, they have a small produce section, but it has interesting stuff. And they always have Pink Lady there that I see, as well as another market that sometimes has them. So I'll get a Pink Lady apple next time I go there. I don't know the next time I'm going to do grocery shopping, but I'll try one. I've never tried it before. I always see it though. Why is it the best? You're paying me $100 to eat an apple. So tell me, why is the Pink Lady apple the best? Honeycrisp are good. Honeycrisps are really good, but personally, I prefer Fuji over Honeycrisp because I think although you're sacrificing the extra sweet flavor of the Honeycrisp, because I know the Honeycrisp was manufactured to be like literally the best apple. Like they scienced it up to make it like really sweet and really good. But the Fuji is a little bit less sweet, but it makes up for the lack of flavor. It still has a lot of flavor, but it makes up for that extra flavor by instead having this like perfectly crispy texture that it just makes you want to take another bite. Yeah, anyway. I can only describe it as a perfect combination between sweet and sour. It's, a little bit sour. Okay, now that's interesting. I didn't know it had a sour flavor to it. I thought it was just another sweet variation. While we're talking about fruits, the best grapes. Okay, this is not a question. This is not a discussion. I'm just informing you. I'm putting my Korean teaching reputation on the line here and letting you know that cotton candy grapes are the best grapes in the entire world. If you see them and you can afford them, because they're usually like ridiculously expensive. Sometimes they're on sale though, which is when I get them. They are so good and they actually taste like cotton candy. Like they have that vanilla cotton candy flavor. And they're also like really like, what's like the word? Like firm. Like they're not like mushy. They're like really like nice and tight, small little grape balls. They're really good. Okay. I'm going to try a, cotton candy grapes. Yeah, are amazing. Make sure they're not out of season though, because they might not be in season. But anyway, thank you so much to Last One Standing, our local apple lobbyist. See how cheaply I can be bought? $100 will get me promoting whatever apple you want. But yeah, I'll try the Pink Lady next time I see it. I promise. If I remember to, I'll take a picture of it as well when I try it. But it might not be for another week or so when I go back to Trader Joe's, because I just bought some milk a few days ago. Okay. One more form. This form looks exactly like the one that we just did, except that instead of hada, which we would conjugate however you want, like 해요, 했어요, 하세요, this one uses 하면. So literally, if you're using an action verb, that'll be if someone or something only does. And if you're using a descriptive verb, it's if someone or something only is. This form is the exact same thing we were already doing, but we need to learn it a little bit, but we need to learn it separately, because I'll give you an example sentence and you'll see why. I wonder if those grapes are really, yeah, they are. They are. I got them once because I was really curious. Freezing them is really nice too, though you might not want the harder texture, but they're pretty good. I would say just try them regular first. The easiest grapes I've ever had to finish the entire bag. I always end up like leaving some grapes in the bag when I get other kinds, no matter how good they are. Those ones, they never last. Okay. I'm going to give you a sentence, and then we're going to go back and talk about this form. Okay, we're going to look at this sentence first, and then we're going to go back and talk about the form, because we can't just use the same knowledge that we have for the other form to translate this naturally. 저는 sun cream, that's what we would call sunblock. 바르다 is to spread. So this is how you say apply anything that's like a liquid. Like if you're putting on makeup or you're putting on sunblock, 선크림을 바르기만 하면. So, 바르기만, only applying sun cream. So, 하면. So, if I only apply sun cream, 얼굴, my face, 얼굴이 빨개지다, to get red. 빨개져요. So my face gets red if I only apply sun cream. Sunblock. So my face gets red if I only apply sunblock. Literally, that's what this form means. This is the same form, 기만 하면, same form we did just with 면. Same literal meaning. The difference now is that, how do we translate this? How would you translate this into English naturally? Because if I only put on sunblock, my face gets red, is what it literally means. But there's a much more natural way that we would express this in English. First of all, does this make sense literally to you? Does that sound, can you kind of understand what this means? Because I want you to see it, I want you to think about it for a second. Is there a more natural way that we can translate this? There is, but can you think of a more natural way? A much more natural way that we can translate this? There are a couple. Will this info on grapes be on the test? Oh, you betcha. 똑똑하기만 하면 성공할 수 있을까요? Okay, if you're only smart, can you succeed? This sentence, though, is fortunately pretty easy to understand. You can literally translate it and it'll make sense. Cotton candy grapes are really cheap in the UK. Okay, they're just really expensive here. But if they're cheaper where you live, get them. 선크림. Did I spell it wrong or were you writing it? Sorry. Sometimes I'll have that where I'll like copy it wrong off the paper. When? You're on the right track, Keith. You're on the right track. When is close. Okay, again, if I only put on sunblock, my face gets red. It makes sense in English, but it's not natural. It's not the way we would say it. We wouldn't say, oh, if I only put on sunblock, my face gets red. So literally, this 기만 하면 form means if you only do, or if you only are, whatever it is. In this case, if you only put on sunblock. But rarely will that be the way that you want to translate this. More often, there's a more natural way that you can translate this. Whenever, as in, if I only do something, this is how we would say whenever in English. Whenever I put on sunblock, my face gets red, implying that all I have to do is, all I have to be is. So the only thing that one has to do, or me or whoever, or be is, all it takes is for me to put on sunblock. And then my face gets red, implying that I burn super easily. That applies to me. My skin is, you see how white my skin is. It'll never be not this white. It is just this white. Like the other side of my arm will slightly tan a tiny bit after like months in the summer. But my skin, no matter what happens, my skin just burns. I don't get tanned. So it feels like sometimes all it takes is for me to put on sunblock and then my face gets red. 저는 선크림을 바르기만 하면 얼굴이 빨개져요. 얼굴이 빨개져요. So all I have to do is put on sun cream, sunblock, and my face gets red. Or whenever I put on sun cream, my face gets red. Now this can mean like you burn really easily. It also can mean like it irritates my skin. Like I'm allergic. If I put on anything on my skin, if I put anything on my skin, it makes my skin irritated. So it could imply that you're getting sunburn really easily, or just that your skin's getting really irritated and it turns red. So if I just put on sunscreen, my face will get red. Any of those translations work. Okay. Let me give you another sentence. Now that you know that, these sentences should be really easy to translate. Well, how are we on time? Oh, we're good on time. Okay. I want you to make this sentence. I'm going to give you some words. So, here are all the words you need. 에어컨, which is air conditioner. 틀다, to turn on, as in like turning on a machine, turning on an air conditioner, or turning on a radio, or anything like that. And then 감기에 걸리다, to catch a cold. So I want you to make the sentence, whenever I turn on the air conditioner, I catch a cold. Literally, we're saying, if I only turn on the air conditioner, implying like I didn't do anything else, all I did was turn on the air conditioner and I caught a cold. So I want you to say, whenever I turn on the air conditioner, I catch a cold. I want you to make this sentence. I'm not going to help you. I just gave you the word. I mean, I already did help you, but I'm just going to give you the words. I'm not going to translate it for you. I don't tan either. I just burn. 에어컨을 틀기만 하면 감기에 걸려요. Perfect, Paulina. 틀기만 하면 감기에 걸렸어요. So amazing. The sentence we have is, whenever I turn on the air conditioner, what you wrote is, whenever I turn on the air conditioner, I caught a cold. The tense would not work in that case, since it's like a hypothetical. Because we're working with the form 면, meaning if. It hasn't happened yet. So it would be something does happen or something will happen if I do it, but not something did happen if I do something, right? And we do the same thing in English. So you wouldn't use the past tense in this case. That's not to say you can't use the past tense with 면, but it has to match the context. That's strawberry flavored. It's pretty good. 튀기만 하면 감기 걸려요. Yes, Mikey, yes. 튀기만 하면 감기에 걸려요. Nice scrambled eggs on toast. You know what's really good? Have you ever done like where you put toast in a frying pan? Actually, you don't take toast. You take bread and you rip out the center. You eat it. Then you add in here, first you add some butter. Just a little bit of butter so it kind of melts in there. And then once the butter's melted, you kind of move the toast around, and then you crack an egg in here. So you have like an egg, inside's the egg. And then you cook it like that. Slow, kind of a low temperature. So you don't want to burn it. You don't want to overcook the bottom. After it's kind of ready, the egg's still a little soft, you flip it over. Shh. There's still some butter on the pan. And then you cook it until it's finished. So you get it nice and toasted on both sides, and then the egg, until the egg's mostly cooked, like 90% cooked. And then you eat it with some butter. It's so good. Have you ever done this? There's a name for it. I just can't think of what it's called, but there's like a name for this type of toast with egg. Whoa, Abby P. I was like, Abby P, I know that name. Hey, Abby. I recognize that name. Abby. Abby. I haven't seen Abby in a while. I haven't gone to any of your live streams since before I went to Korea this time. Thank you so much, Abby. Abby! What's up, Abby P? I know you don't say the my people thing anymore, but I still say it. What's up, Abby P? One of my people. Abby P, how's it going? Someone said egg white's the worst. Eggs in a frame? Is that what it's called? There's a word for it. Hold on. Okay, one of the other sentences. 틀기만 하면 걸려요. Nice Harune. And also Marav Levy. 에어컨 틀기만 하면 감기에 걸려요. 감기. Wani asks, do people send me videos speaking Korean? I critique it. I did for the video I made, but I only do that like once a year. Let's see. 에어컨 틀기만 하면 감기에 걸려요. Nice Alice, as well as Thomas, as well as Aria, as well as Emily. Egg in a hole. Yes, that's right. Egg in a hole. Abby P. Yeah, I've done several videos with Abby. I would do more, but she doesn't live in Korea. She's not close to where I live, so I can't meet her. Like, I did every time I was in Korea. She was on my short list. I have like a list of people that I want to meet whenever I go to Korea, and I'll contact them in order. Number one on the list, you know, and it goes down. Abby was always on my short list, the people that I would like make sure to contact. And but then she moved out of Korea, and I haven't been able to do clouds with her. She took me to my very first convention. We went to it was like a comic convention in Korea, and I did cosplay for my very first time in my life. There's a video, it's still on our channel. I think she did one on her channel and I did one on my channel as well. You can check it out. We also did some other collabs where we talk about like Korean mistakes we've made. We did another one talking about like culture shock, and then we did another video after that as well. I can't remember, but we did another video after that as well a few years ago. 안녕, my people. People would dress like Go Billy. Yeah, no, it was the best. It was honestly, up until that point, was my best experience in Korea, period, was when I did cosplaying as No Face. That character from the Spirited Away, that movie, you know, get the black thing covering him and the white mask, whatever. The reason is because if someone hears me speaking Korean, they won't know I'm not Korean, just because people don't assume that someone speaking Korean is anything but a Korean until they see your face. But they couldn't see my face in that costume. So I'm just speaking Korean. People are coming up. Hey, can I take a photo? Everyone is interacting with me so differently than they would if they could see my face. So it was just really fun getting like treated as if I was a Korean, like 100% like I was Korean. I never got that experience ever again, except that one day when I did that. So it was really fun. But yeah, it's a different experience. Cosplay for yeah, and I will also be doing a costume for Halloween this year. I showed off one of the parts of the Halloween costume already a couple weeks ago. I don't know if anyone noticed it, but yeah, I'm gonna be doing a costume this year for my first time doing a Halloween costume, probably since I was in high school. Okay. Anyone who's ever tried to learn Korean has seen his outfit. Abby P taught me Hangul letters. Yeah. She also has Korean videos as well that she did. Lately you still do like you do Twitch mostly more than YouTube these days. Thank you, Abby. Getting off track, talking about eggs and then wearing costume. Okay, let me give you a sentence, but you guys already got it. I'm just gonna write it up anyway. Some sentences are just like so simple. I don't even need to check if I'm writing the one that I wrote down exactly. This is one of those sentences. 저는, so I, aircon, so air conditioning. 틀기만 하면, so if I only 틀다, turn on the air conditioner. This is for turning on any sort of electronic device or machine. 감기에 걸리다, I catch a cold. 감기에 걸려요. So I catch a cold whenever I turn on the air conditioner. Funny fact is that 감기에 걸리다 is actually the same expression as from English, because we used to say to be caught by a cold in English. It was like be caught by, anyway, the expression we would use in English was like literally be caught by a cold. And 감기에 걸리다 literally means to be caught by a cold. So it's just a literal translation of an older English expression. Or French? Anyway, that's what it is. Okay. 저는 에어컨을 틀기만 하면 감기에 걸려요. So whenever I turn on an air conditioner, implying that all it takes is for me to turn on an air conditioner and I catch a cold. Or all I have to do is turn on the air conditioner and I catch a cold. So whenever I turn on the air conditioner, I catch a cold. Okay, I'll leave this up for just a second. Kaonashi cosplay. I still have it. I still have my cosplay, no face cosplay. I haven't worn it since though, because I'm asking my wife to update it, because the last time I wore it, it was like Abby had ordered it from, I don't know if you got it from like AliExpress or something, or from a Korean website, but it's like, it's not a very like fancy detailed costume. It's pretty much just like a cloth, like a bed sheet, a black bed sheet with holes cut out for the eyes. So you remember I had to keep adjusting my gloves. They kept falling down. The cosplay kept like twisting around my face. I had to like adjust my mask every few minutes. So I want to get that fixed. So my wife sews, she knows how to sew. So I'm asking her like, can she make the eye holes a little bit bigger? Can she make it fit a little bit better? So we're kind of updating it so that it's easier to wear. Otherwise, I would need to have a helper with me at 24/7 to adjust the parts of it. I'm just a degenerate gamer now. How do they treat you differently? I can talk about that after the live stream, but I don't want to get too off track. We still have another sentence to go. Okay, last sentence. I know this lesson, you might be thinking, oh, this lesson's really easy, Billy. I thought it was going to be intermediate level. Well, it is. You're just that good at Korean. Someday, though, I'll meet Abby again. Someday. You have to let me know the next convention you go to. Let's see. 무조건 참기만 하면 안 돼. Okay. 무조건 참기만 하면 안 돼. So 무조건 actually has a lot of translations to it. I did a separate video, a Korean FAQ video about all the different ways to translate 무조건, but literally means unconditionally. Here though, you can think of it as just meaning just. 참다 is to endure something, to bear something, or to hold it in. And it's usually used to refer to like an emotion, like you're holding in your emotion. So 참기만 하면 안 돼. So you shouldn't just or only hold it in. And this is also just. So you shouldn't only just hold it in. So don't just hold everything in. Don't just stay pent up. Don't keep all your emotions in. So you shouldn't just hold in your emotions. Let it out sometimes, or else you're going to have a Serenity Now situation. 무조건 참기만 하면 안 돼. So don't just hold everything in. That is our last sentence. I had 3 sentences for the original form without 면, and then 3 sentences with 면. There are a lot more sentences on the worksheet also if you want to practice. Like, I think there are 8 additional examples if you want to see some more advanced level sentences that have this, but that's it. If you understood this form to only do or to only be, then you're good. That's it. Like you might talk about someone who is a really like a person you don't like, but everyone's like, oh, but they're so smart. You can say, 똑똑하기만 해. Like that's all they are is smart. Like you can use it like that to talk about people negatively. You can say apples are only, they're only pretty. 예쁘기만 해. Like it's not delicious. It just only looks nice. 참기. Yeah, 참다. Because the verb is 참다. So 참기, not 참기. 참기 would be 참기름. Like sesame oil is 참기름, which is also 참기름. But the verb is 참다. 참다 with the da. You see if there's another natural translation for it. Nah, not really. Anyway, hold back, repress. How often are these lessons? They're every Sunday, but I take a break every 3 Sundays. So every 3 weeks, I take 1 week off. You can't just put up with it. Yeah. because tamta is one that's difficult to translate in one word in English, but in Korean, the concept is the same. It's holding back. You're enduring something. You're bearing something. That's what the meaning is. You're like, "Urgh." That's tamta. It can be tamta for anything. Like someone's berating you, someone's yelling, and you're just like, oh, okay. But you're like, really, you're holding everything back. Like you're really upset. You're like, you don't want them to be talking with like, but you just keep 참고 있어요. You just keep holding back. That is the last sentence. I'm going to take some questions, but first let me make a thumbnail for this video. I always do the same thing. I need to do something different. Like, that's like I'm hitchhiking or something, but I think it works. Maybe one of those two. I don't know which one's better. Hey, Kai! Kai, where'd you go? Where'd you go, Kai? Disappear? Pop up to throw down $10? Sorry, I almost wrote Abby again. I was just still thinking about Abby. I almost gave your donation to Abby. Thank you, Kai. Had to pop in and out, but here's another little donation. Thank you so much. Oh, this is great. I had a big lunch today at a Korean restaurant together with another family I know. And this pays for my lunch, which is great. And some Pink Lady apples. Like I gotta get a Pink Lady. Oh, you know what? I'm just gonna write that down in my shopping list because I have a shared shopping list with my wife, so we can write down like the groceries we have to get. Let's see what's on there. Cereal, shaving cream. Okay, let's do a Pink Lady apple. Pink Lady apples. I'll get more than one. I don't think one will be enough. If they're good, then one's not going to be enough. Kai left to study. How dare you? How dare you study Korean while I'm teaching Korean? I know I left, but I'm Abby now. Yeah, we are all Abby on this blessed day. We actually finished early. This rarely happens. I finished 7-8 minutes early. I'm taking questions now. You can ask me questions about anything. Anything related to Korean or even Korea or whatever you want. Well, I'll answer some questions. For the thumbnail, do you want me to, is this the thumbnail like this? Like this? Okay, maybe I'll use that. I'll put a vote. Usually I'll post the options on my Discord channel and you can vote for which thumbnail you want. So I'll put those 3 votes up. After this live stream's over, you'll see the images on my Discord channel so you can vote for which one you want. What is the other one? I should do the other, what's the other thumbnail where you do this? You're like that or something. Kai, to make up for leaving to selfishly study. All right, I think I can forgive you. I think I'll forgive you for that. Since you donated. I'll forgive you for going off to study. Thank you, Kai. Okay, last one standing. Kai. I'm moving to Seoul in December. Oh, wow. And I'll stay there for a year. That's awesome. What are you going to do? What are you going to do while you're there? Are you going to go to a language program? Are you going to do a school like Yonsei or Seogang or one of those schools? How will my learning change with immersion? How important is it? Oh God. Yeah, being in Korea is the best thing you could possibly do for learning Korean. Not that being in Korea will guarantee you're going to learn Korean, but it gives you the most chances to do it. It'll depend on the answer to the question that I asked. What are you going to be doing in Korea? Then I can tell you what to expect. Billy, when you went to Korea for the first time, what was the top 5 most common phrases you used? It would be hard to remember. One of them was 배고파요. 배고파요, I used it a lot because I remember I was hungry all the time. My stomach did not like Korean food when I first went to Korea. I mean, I liked Korean food, but my stomach couldn't take it because it's just too spicy. Like, too much spicy, I should say. The quantity, not the amount. Korean food isn't really that spicy, I think, but it's just like a little spicy every meal. And my stomach's like, I'm out. Like, my stomach couldn't handle it very well. So things like 배가 아파요, 피곤해요, 배고파요. These sorts of expressions I would have said a lot. There's a Korean idiom, 입에 맞다. 맞다 just means to match, and 입에 is to your mouth. So literally, 입에 맞아요. 입에 맞은 음식 means food that matches your mouth, or food that's suitable to your mouth. You can translate it as, do you like the food? 입에 맞으세요? Like, do you like it? But it's more like asking, are you okay with it? Like, is this acceptable to you? So it's not necessarily asking like, do you think it tastes good? But more like, are you okay eating it? It's a common thing that Korean people will ask though, if they're not sure if you're going to be okay with eating Korean food. 입에 맞으세요? So for me, 입에 안 맞았어요. Korean food just didn't go well. Didn't go well with me. It didn't go over well with my stomach. So 입에 안 맞았어요. It didn't really match with me. But I grew to like it after I had it a lot more. Now my stomach has no problem with it. But in the very beginning, I remember like the first couple months, like I got pretty sick just because I was like always uncomfortable from eating a bunch of Korean food every single day. I'll be on a working holiday, but I'm already self-employed, so I won't be working there. So I think I'll just join a language school. Yes, language school would be a good idea. Is it possible to do like Seogang? I personally would recommend, I'm not paid by them, never even talked with them before, Seogang University. Sogang is the English, but it's Seogang. They have what I think is the best Korean learning program, but I'm not sure if you can just take it without being like enrolled there. Try it though. The reason is every Korean university will have a Korean program, and overall, it doesn't really matter which one you do for the Korean part of it. The difference though is each university will emphasize having language partners and actually using the language a different amount. And Seogang, I know, emphasizes actually using the language more than the other schools that I've heard from people who've told me how their opinions, what their opinions were on each school. I've heard the most best things about Seogang before. You want to have, whatever you're doing for your school, you need to have a school that's helping you to use the language. So getting you into language exchange groups, anything that encourages you to use the language with other Korean people. Because any school can teach you the language. You can learn the language without going to Korea. But the point of being in Korea is that you get the benefit of being surrounded by Koreans, and you need a program that's going to actually encourage you to get the most out of your trip. So I would say your learning is going to change a lot in that you're not going to be focused so much on the grammar and the vocab as much as you were outside of Korea. In Korea, it's kind of more like you're just living it. Like you're not going to need to study as much. You're going to still study vocab, but you're not really going to need to stress about it as much because you're going to get plenty of vocab exposure, new words you're learning and everything through your lessons in school, through people you're meeting, stuff like that. So I would say to get the best out of your trip is find a school that encourages people to speak Korean with each other, whether that's a university or a private program. Read the reviews, talk with people who've actually done those programs, and don't pay attention to things like, oh, it was really fun, we did this and this. Pay attention to, we had exchange programs, we did language buddies, we did this, we had to do this in Korean. Like try to find things that are going to push you to do using the actual language. Let's see. How to say I'm full. 배가 부르다. 배가 불러요. So if you're hungry, you can say 배가, then you use 고프다, which is the verb. So you can say 고파요 if you conjugate it. 배가 고파요. And if you're full, you use 부르다, which is to be full, which conjugates as 불러요. Hopefully you can see that. Yeah. 배가 불러요. So they both start with the same. 배 고파요. 배 불러요. So I'm full. I'm hungry. Funnily enough, people use 고파요, 고프다. They use this as a slang way of saying that you want to do something. For example, normally if you want to say you want to eat something, you can say 먹고 싶어요, 먹고 싶어, right? But 먹고 has the beginning of 고프다. So you might hear people say 고파요, 고파 or 고파요. They use 고프다 as a grammar form. Now this is slang. It's not standard Korean and it's not common. It's kind of I would say younger people would use this occasionally, but it's not something that will make you sound more fluent in Korean unless you're in that younger age. You might hear people say like something 먹고파요 or 가고파요. I want to go. 가다. Yeah, it's kind of a play on words from 고프다, from 고파요. So 먹고 instead of 싶어요, they say 고파요. So it's like I'm hungry for eating something. I'm hungry for 가다, going somewhere. And then 배가 부르다 has a second meaning as being fully satisfied with something. Like you're fully satisfied. You don't want anything. Like you're just like what's the word? There's a word in English. It's like you don't need anything. You're like, haha, I have everything I ever need. Like 배불러요. Like kind of that in that sort of meaning nuance as well. But I'm trying to think of another way that we can say that in English. Anyway, it has a second meaning as that. Like you don't need anything. You're fully satisfied. Tyler says, I just did the weekend trifecta Spartan obstacle course race in Tebek. Ran a 21 kilometer, 10 kilometer, 5 kilometer race over 2 days in the mountains. I got 7th. Dang. You got 7th? That is insane. Congratulations. Sue says, when you finish the first textbook, do you use the second one or get the intermediate level and start use other resources? So the textbooks are different because they're meant to be books. Like I assume the person's going to read them in order. If you want to go away from the series, I would do the second one first and the second one. And then by the time you finish the second book, you've got a lot of the basics and you're kind of free to go on to other places. I wouldn't go off after the first book because the first book doesn't finish teaching like, what is it, like future tense and past tense and all the general tenses that you need. It doesn't get you through all the basics yet. You need the second one to get through most of those. So I would do that at least. Satiated, content. Yeah, it's kind of like you're bragging though. It's like you're acting proud about it. Not just that you're content, but like, haha, I'm content. I've got everything, you know. They use it sometimes in insults, like you're talking like 배부른 소리 is like, 소리 is like, it means sound, but it's used to refer to someone else's words in kind of a negative way. Like that's why you might hear someone say like 무슨 소리? 무슨 소리야? Like you're not saying what are you saying, but it's like what kind of words, what kind of sounds do I hear coming out? Like what is that garbage you're saying? So 배부른 소리 is like you're talking all high and mighty, like you've got everything, like you're on your high horse. That's sort of like like feeling to being content. Like you're not even, there's nothing you even need. Oh, you've got everything you ever asked for. That sort of nuance is what it has. Kinsey says, I'm a beginner, but had to stop in to show support. Can't wait to understand what you're talking about one day. Start with my beginner course. It's free. It really is free. There are no catches. There aren't any catches you could find if you're looking for something. I didn't connect it to any of my other stuff. So even if you want to buy it, you can't. It's 100% free. So yeah, go check it out. Takes you all the way up to, say, like a mid-beginner, high beginner level. But it's enough to get started with basic conversations. Complacent. Kind of, yeah. Yeah, kind of has that nuance to it. Complacent. Oh, okay. I'll take questions for like another 20 minutes. So any questions related to Korean or Korea, now's your time to ask. I give you as detailed of an answer as we can go over in this short amount of time. Arya is asking about a Korean name, as well as Wani. Korean names are, I've done a video about them. Korean names are not something you want to ask someone to give you for many reasons. Making a Korean name, you have a couple options. You can just write your name in romanization, like Adia, right? But there's a second way to make a Korean name, which is actually giving yourself a Korean sounding name. And I did a video about how you can do this, so I don't really want to go over it in this lesson, but I would say the short answer is just write your name in Hangul as it is, as it's pronounced. And the way you do that is you go to naver.com and you search for your name. You write your whole name. Well, sorry, you're just your first name. And you search for celebrities that have your name and look at how they're written in Korean. And that's exactly what you use. This is the easiest way to find your name in Korea. Like if I search Billy, I'll find there's like Billy Irish, I can't actually say her name because I actually don't know how to pronounce the name. You get this, done. But you might find there are multiple ways to spell your name, in which case you would pick the one that you prefer. Like there might be an older version of the spelling of your name from like the 1800s, some famous author that has your name. And you're like, oh, I don't want that. I want the one that's used by this celebrity today. Then you pick that. So you can kind of pick, but most of the time there's just going to be one result. That's how you get your Korean name. If you want a Korean name, that's a process. That is not something that you can just come up with and not something you want to, because Korean names, just like English names, can have meanings and can have feelings associated with them, like nuances. For example, if someone in Korea wanted to make an English name and you suggested that they name themselves Vincent, now it's not a bad name, but what does the feeling of the name Vincent have in American English or in English? What does it feel like? Or Herbert? I mean, these aren't terrible names, right? Cornelius. What about these names? They are older names. So if you use that name, it's fine, but you have to know what the feeling of the name is, and Korean's the same way. If there is a younger female, say like a 25-year-old Korean asking me, hey, Billy, what should I make my name? And I said, Bertha. Let's go with Bertha. Or even, you know what, let's do with Marjorie. Like, these are real names. They're okay, but you have to know what the names are kind of associated with. So Korean's the same thing. You can easily pick a Korean name that sounds kind of doesn't match. Not that it's a bad name, right? You can be named Bertha. Who cares? But it's not going to match the person's personality. It's not going to like match what they want for people to perceive them as, right? A-body. Thomas says, with the sunblock sentence, how would you say I only apply sunblock? You would use 바르기만 하다. 바르기만 해요. I only apply sunblock, and then whatever before that is like when something. 얼굴이 빨개지면, so when or if my face gets red. But you don't even need to say I only apply, because you're not saying that you don't do anything else. What that sentence means in English, I only apply sunblock when my face is red. That's saying only when my face is red do I apply sunblock, is what you actually mean. In which case, 얼굴이 빨개져야 you want this form. If what you mean is only if something happens do I do something, then you use the conjugated verb. I'll just write C verb conjugated, like 하다 becoming 해, and you use 야 after. So like something 해야, and then I do this. Like 얼굴이 빨개져야 선크림을 발라요. So I put on sun cream only if my face gets red. That's what you mean in that sentence. It's not this form that we're using today at all. Because if you were using the form, it would be, all I do is, the only thing that I do when my face gets red is I put on sunblock. I don't do anything else. Then you can use this form. Like if my face gets red, 얼굴이 빨개지면 선크림을 바르기만 해요. Like all I do is I put on sunblock if my face gets red. As in, that's all I do to take care of it. Then you're fine. You can use this form. But if you mean that I only put on sunblock if my face is red or when my face is red, you use this. And the problem is because your sentence in English can have both of those meanings at the same time. I'm moving in February to work as a researcher at Seoul University. Any tricks on finding apartments? No. No tricks to finding an apartment. You always will get what you pay for. So if you get a place that looks really nice and really clean, well, guess what? You're going to be far away from the subway station. You might have to walk like 15 minutes to get to the subway or 10 minutes to get to the bus stop. You find a place that's like really close to campus and looks really nice. Well, guess what? You're going to be paying 3 times what someone else would pay at a different apartment. So yeah, you get what you pay for. So for your apartment, you can get something with good quality in a good location, but it's going to be a bad price. You can pick 2. Pick any 2 of these if you want. Now, if you have the money, yeah, you can get a place with good quality, good quality and a good location, but then you have to pay a lot for it. You can get something with good quality at a good price, but you're going to be a bad location. Or a really good price in a really good location, and it's going to be a low quality apartment. This is a fact of life in any city, but Korea especially. Whenever I go to Korea, I try to find a cheap place. Since I'm just living by myself, I don't do anything at my apartment at all. I don't even edit videos. I just come home, sleep, and in the morning I take a shower and I leave. I'm not even at my house. So for me, I don't really care about the quality very much. As long as it has a shower and it's not infested with something, I'm good. So I get something that's, and I don't really even care too much about the location. If it's okay. So I just try to find something like okay location, okay quality, okay price. That's what I go for. But if you're staying in Korea for longer than that short trip that I have, or if you're not planning on being outside of your house all day, you might just have to pony up and pay a little bit more and get something nicer. Billy, I just noticed your background today. Oh yeah, I don't know. It's it's like a study room. It's like a library, but I don't really see too many books. Oh, there's some books over here. Yeah, right around here, there's some books. Yeah, it's just a library I found, a quiet library that no one's here. Hello! Hello! Yeah, no one's here, so. What's the difference between 종류 and 가지? That's a longer question than you might think. The short answer is 종류 is the more formal version, although there's different words that use these. 종류 is the one that you'd use for more formal sounding. 가지 is the one you're going to use for, typically that's going to be the one you're using if you're talking about like a type of something. Like there are various types, or there are 3 kinds. That's going to be 가지 that you use. 종류 works, but 종류 has different uses typically. More formal sounding, official sounding uses. So that's the short answer. The longer answer is there are words that use each of those in them, and you would search Naver to find out which words. How would you pronounce the name 성류? So, 성류 is not a name. 성류 is pomegranate. The way it works is you have this letter plus this letter. You get this due to sound change rules. If you forgot that, you can always figure out, most of the time you can figure out a sound change rule by just reading something slowly and then a little bit faster. So you could start off by doing 성류, 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 성류. you kind of get there. 성류. 성류 is what you get to, and then when you start doing it more, 성류, 성류. So it's just read as 성류. There was a popular drink. You could still buy it in Korea, but it's not as popular anymore. Called 미녀는 성류를 좋아해. It was like a pomegranate flavored drink. Called 미녀는 성류를 좋아해. Literally, beautiful women like pomegranates is the drink. And they had a jingle and a commercial. It's pretty good. It's pretty good, the drink. You can find it at Korean markets outside of Korea, but it's nothing impressive. It's like pomegranate flavored juice. But it was cheap. But I don't know anyone named pomegranate. And do I know N hyphen? No. I've just heard the name, but I don't know them. Okay, Kozma says, is 조금 pronounced as 조금 or 조금 by girls more often than boys? No. It's just it's not a pronunciation difference by gender. It's an emphasis difference. 조금 means a little. 조금. You're just emphasizing like a little versus a little. It's just more emphasis. If you want to emphasize it more, 조금. You can add another 조금. You can also extend it. People get goofy with this as well. If they want to make it like playfully, like just a tiny bit, like they actually mean a lot, but they want to like downplay it and joke about it, they might do this. Like, hey, can you just loan me like just a tiny bit money? And then you find out it's like $3,000. So people do this to be cutesy, which is why you might have the impression that girls use it more than boys. But it's not a gender thing. It's simply, do girls or guys want to sound cute more often? Typically females will use more cutesy language more often, but it's the reason that you're doing this is actually just for emphasis. So, but by adding that emphasis can make it sound cute because you're actually like downplaying it. That in that way it's cute. Like if you actually mean a lot, but you're saying just a little bit, in that way it's cute. But the word itself, 조금, is not specifically for male or female. You can use it for anyone. There are things in Korea that are more common for one gender or the other, but that's like I said, that would be a different lesson. You won't be weird if you use it no matter what your gender is. Sungyu is a main lead of a K-drama. Oh, is there an actor named Pomegranate? No. What's their name? It's the actor Love Next Door. Bae Sungyu? There is a girl named Sungyu. No, but that's the character's name. That's not the real person's name. Yeah, that's just the character's name. Like your character's name is literally Pear Pomegranate. In the drama, the actress's name is Jung So-min. That's not the actress's name. The actress's name is Jung So-min. The character's name is Bae Sung-yu, which is literally, Bae is just a last name, it's normal. But it can also have the meaning of a pear. So it's like Pear Pomegranate. Your name is literally Pear Pomegranate. Yeah, once again, don't learn Korean from K-dramas. That's gotta be intentional. Hold on, let me see the other names. 태승호, 배동진, 정모음, 수혜수, 강동우, 장태희, Namisu. Yeah, it's her IRL name is not Songyu. Yeah, for a show name. Yeah, I was confused. I was like, a real person's name? I am 100% sure there is a real person named Songyu, because there are so many Korean names that are just like, why did they name their kid that? There's so many names like that in Korean. Like, they're just a joke. Like, don't. Korean parents who name your kids that, it's like, don't do it. That let the kid do that when they become an adult, if they want to name themselves. Like, I knew someone named they're named Yeji, which is a regular Korean name, and their sister's name was Aji. Okay? So one person's name, there's two sisters I knew, Yeji and her sister Aji. Now, this character at the end is what's known as a 돌림자. 돌림자 is a character, a ta, that gets reused in many family members' names. So it's kind of like you'll see this in family members that have what am I trying to think of? The sibling, that's the word I wanted. Siblings' names have the same character. Usually it's the second character that is the same. And then the first character changes. So it's like they're all part of the same club. You'll see that. It's really common in Korean names. It's known as 돌림자. So anyway, this is not a big deal. Yeji and Aji. The problem is that their last name is Kang. There's no way this was unintentional. Now, Kang Yeji is a normal name. In fact, I probably have met a Kang Yeji in my life, but Kang Aji, it's not. Like, don't do this to your poor kid. I mean, if they're an adult, they're just going to accept it at that point. They're like, whatever, people will joke about, who cares? But when you're a little kid, everyone's going to be bugging you about that. Hey, Isabel, thank you so much. Isabel Santana. Hold on, I need some extra space. Erase the dog part. Isabel Santana, thank you so much. What's your message? Thank you for the class today. Thank you. I've gotten a great stream so far, plus the giant donation from the Apple lobby. I added pink lady apples to my shopping list. Nick Cage went with Apple or something? What are you talking about, Nick Cage? Yeah, Kanaji. And this is not the worst name that I've heard. I knew a girl named Eunbi. Normal Korean name, very common. But the last name was Chu. Chumbi. It sounds like zombie. Chumbi, because zombie in Korean is chumbi. But because this letter is a nasal consonant, it can also get pronounced like a miem at times. Often this consonant can get pronounced as miem sometimes when words are said quickly. So chonbi, chombi, chombi. Chonbi sounds like chombi. So anyway, I mean, she knew that and her friends teased her about that. That's not terrible though, because it itself is not the word zombie. It just could sound like if you say it quickly. I will caution you though. Now, in American culture, we like making fun of people's names. Like, it's normal to play around with people's names. They don't do that in Korea playfully. It's more insulting. So if you have a Korean friend that you happen to notice has an interesting name, resist the urge to make fun of it until you become closer friends, because people can be sensitive about their names. Like, they take them really seriously, and they can change. They might even get really mad if you're making fun of their name, even though you mean it as a joke to be playful, to build a rapport with them. They might take it offensively, like, oh, you making fun of my name? Like, you don't like my name? So be careful with making fun of someone's name. In fact, in Korea, it's really common to do this. 개명. 개명 is changing your name. I know 3 people personally who have changed their name in Korea. It's not a rare thing. If you hear someone changes their name in Korea, don't be like, what? How could you? Whoa, I didn't know. When it's just a common thing that people do. When they become an adult, they realize, oh, I want a different name. I don't like how my name feels or my name sounds, or I want a different, my mom picked my name because of this, but I don't like that. It's really common to change your name as an adult. So yeah, it's a normal thing. Someone I knew had a name that was like really common, and they changed it to a less common name just because they wanted something that sounded more unique. Another person had an uncommon name and hated their name and changed it to a more common name. So yeah, just know that about Korean culture. Names are more of a thing. People even spend money to have someone give them advice on what they should name their kids. And people will spend money to help them pick out a Hanja name for their kids, like that has a good meaning to it. Like, oh, help us give our kid a good name. And then the person will like consult with names and like think about what the names mean, and they'll come up with like the worst garbage name in the world because I've heard some people who have those names and they're like, they're not that great. But people they take naming seriously over there. So usually what I do for my Korean friends, I am like the person in my Korean group who gives people nice sounding English names. So that would be trying to think of what was another term. Anyway, you can just say 이름을 짓다. That's the more useful one. To make a name, like to give someone a name. So I'll have my Korean friends, when they need an English name, they'll come to me and I'll spend like 2 or 3 days and I'll think of a bunch of English names and kind of boil down what I want to match with their meaning, their Korean name, all that stuff, and try to give them a really nice English name. But making a name in another language is a really big ordeal. It's not like a small thing to do, especially with Korea, just because they're really self-conscious about their names. Pink lady, yes. Those things you discover and tell us, oh yes, you like this kind of thing? 돌림자. Yeah. Yeah, Chombi is not a bad name either. Like of the goofy names, it's pretty normal because it itself is not like a joke. It's only when you say it quickly that it kind of becomes a joke. There are other people that literally have the name like what's that one, the other one I was trying to think of? Yin. Oh, I can't think of it right now. Hold on. Choin? Yeah, I think it's Choin. Yeah. Okay, I just wanted to verify. So there's a Korean word, choin. Cho is like super, and in is person. So literally, choin is like someone who's like extra powered, like a strong, extra powered person. And Che is a normal last name, but if you put Che before, Che can also be a hanja that means the most. So it's like the superest Superman, like the most powerful Superman. And some people might call their kid Choin and their last name is Che. So you'd have a name like literally like Ultraman would be your name. Hey, nice to meet you. What's your name? Oh, I'm Sally. What's yours? Ultraman. Like it literally sounds like that. People do this kind of thing with their name like all the time. I mean, it's not common, but it does happen a lot. Yeah, Uberman. I am the Uberman. It's like ridiculous. Why would you do that to your child? Is Huan a name that exists in Korean? Like everything could be a name, but I've never heard that name. Where did you see that? Did you see a character? Is there like a drama with that character or something? I don't even see a word for Huan. Like, I can think of a Hanja word that could be Huan, but not a regular word. Is Chuin a girl name or a boy name? It's neither. It's not a name. That's what I'm saying. It's not a name. Because it literally means like a superhuman. Huan. Okay, Juan. No, Huan, there is a Hanja word Huan, but it doesn't make any sense for a name. Juan. Juan. Do you want a Korean name? Like, I mean, Juan, the regular name, I'm not sure what they say for Juan, actually. Let me search what the common word for Juan. Juan. It just shows up as John, because it's pretty much just John. You could read it as Juan, it says. I don't know anyone named Juan. But it looks like that is a way to write Juan. It's just Juan. Yeah. I see other references to the name Juan for the location San Juan. I also see a Juan Chuang. I do see a Chuang. There's another spelling I've seen, Chuang. That looks like a Denmark movie. So the Denmark name Juan is different. Yeah, you could go with Juan, I guess. But I've never heard it. I would have to know someone with that name, and I don't know anyone with that name in Korea. So I can't tell you I've heard it before. But yeah, it looks like that's the name you could use. Juan. John in Spanish. Okay. Yeah, Chun is a pretty common name. I would not recommend against just Chun. Chun is a cool name. Like John Wick is just Chun Wick in Korean. Chun, it's not the same as your name, but it sounds kind of cool. So maybe you can do, but then you're basically getting rid of your name. Juan. It's up to you. What do you feel like? Do you connect more with the Spanish side? Or do you connect more with the English speaking side? That's what I would pick for when you pick your foreign name. You can also try to get a native Korean name, but then there are other problems that can come with that. Like if someone asks you your name and you give them a native Korean name, their radar is just going to be like, what's going on? Like, why isn't this person giving me their real name? It's not like in the US where someone says, what's your name? And you give them an English name. They'll just say, okay, I guess that's their English name. In Korea, they'd be like, wait, that's totally not their real name. So yeah, I would use Juan or Chun. What about Kunwon? Big one? I mean, even in France, people call me Juan. I was born in Paris. I almost said Paris, but my parents gave me a Spanish name. Yeah, I guess go with Juan. I could check with my wife because I've never met anyone named Juan in Korea, so I can't tell you if that's the normal way they use for their name. My wife would know, but off the top of my head, I can't think of anyone with that name. So keep using it though. It seems to be the correct way. Okay, let's see. Any other Korean questions? Someone named their kid Apple? Yeah, you can name your kid Sagwa. Sagwa. Yeah. Sagwa is... Oh, that's a bad name. There was someone that had a... So there's a family named Yu, which often becomes... When you read it, it's just read as Yu. So if you know anyone with the last name is Yu, it's the same thing as Yu. Someone named their kid Myungin. Let me try to find that. Or was it Myungin or Myung? Anyway, either of these could work if it was Myungin or Myunghan. You know, thinking back, I think it was Myunghan. So literally like famous. 유명하다. 유명한. So, but I saw like an interview of some YouTuber who went around meeting a few people who had like kind of those goofy names as a kid, and then interviewing them later and asking them about their name. And I think some of them liked it, like they were okay having a unique name. So 유명인. Yeah, 유명인, but I can't remember if the person that I had specifically seen was named 유명인 or 유명한, but they both would work as names. I mean, they're both not good names, but they would work. I discovered the name 샛별. Yeah, it's a stage name. Is another name that you can use to 금성. What do you mean? 금성 the planet? Like Venus? 샛별 is not that. I mean, more, it's kind of Venus, but it's not used as the planet name Venus. Yeah, it's not quite. So normally when you say 금성, you mean the planet Venus. 샛별 would not be specifically used for the planet as much as it is for like a star. Like as in like a celebrity. It's that sort of meaning. Since Venus looks like a star, if you look at it, if you see like a really, really bright star in the sky, you're like, wow, that's ridiculously bright. It's actually Venus, most likely. If anyone's curious, if you see that, it's not the North Star that you're seeing. North Star is not that like bright. It's Venus is the really bright one. Wani Dimple says, I have a friend whose name is... No, that's not their name. That's not their name. No, that's not their name. You wouldn't be able to get that name registered. I think they're joking with you. Oh, 샛별 is not 3. That would be the... That's 3 is this. Hey. Brian C. asks about yuk versus yuk. So that is a North Korean thing. There is 두음 법칙. There is a pronunciation rule in Korean that determines how words are pronounced and written specifically for words that start with these two letters, lir and nian. For example, yuk, or maybe another common one would be like dragon, yong, or like a woman, which is nyol, like that. For words that start with this, these words get transformed into this at the beginning of a word. And there's some other rules that are involved in applying this, but that's the really simple version. North Korea does not have this rule. So words that normally would start with these letters still start with these letters. So you get 여자 for women. And the original Hanja is 여. So it's not like it's doing something wrong, but it's difficult to pronounce. So South Korea has rules that change the way these are read and written. So women is just 여자, but in North Korean it would still be 여자 because they don't have this rule. So if you saw ryuk, although ryuk by itself is not a word, it's a hanja. But if you're talking about at the beginning of a word, then yeah, it would be a North Korean thing. If you're talking about in the middle of a word, no, that's a different reason. I mean, it still has to do with this, but it's not the same thing. Yeah, Wani Dimples, I doubt that. I think they were lying to you. I'm pretty sure they were lying to you or joking with you. Korean American? No, there's no way. Because you can't put any name you want in the registry when you're born. You can't just say my name is and like write and fill up. They don't let you do that. They have rules for it. So you wouldn't be able to get by with a swear word. So I think your friend was just joking with you. I did have that happen as well when I was first learning Korean. One of the very first Korean words a guy taught me was a swear word. Although he told me it was a swear word. But it would have been just as easy for him to say, oh, it means this. No, it means hello, and then tell me this swear word. There was a Russian kid I knew when I was in high school, and he said that whenever people asked him for a Russian word, he would tell them, like, they'd be like, oh, just tell me any useful Russian word. He's like, oh, kartushka. I was like, kartushka, what does that mean? He's like, oh, kartushka is a hello in Russian. I'm like, okay, cool. He told me what it actually meant, but he told other people that it just meant hello. So he's like, his other friends would go around being, oh, kartushka, whenever they see him. It turns out it means potato. But some people joke around like that. So that's what I think your friend was probably doing. Which means the F word. It's not that bad, but yeah, it's close to that. I mean, literally it is. It is the F word in Korea. Arya says, is Candy a real Korean name? No, that is literally Candy. So, I mean, you can have an English name, Candy. Like if you meet a Korean person and they don't want to tell you their real name, because a lot of Koreans are very protective of their privacy. So they might tell you a fake name when you meet them until you're actually close. They might prefer going by a fake name. So they might say, oh yeah, just call me Susan or call me Candy. That's not a Korean name. Doesn't that mean 11? No, that would be 11. Can Hwan be a name? Yeah, sure. There are some one syllable names. They're not that common, but one syllable can be a name. The way it works though, is your name is not going to be just one syllable. Your name will be 2 syllables, 1 syllable for the last name and 1 syllable for the first name. And often people will make them match. So it'll be something really like short. So, I mean, your name is 1 syllable, but it's 2 for your full name. You'd still have a last name. Their name just wouldn't be in the registry legally as Hwan. That's it. It would be like Kim Hwan or something like that. Che Hwan. But yeah, some people do one syllable names. Some actors do it. It's kind of cool if it works, but it's not that common. I put it in Google Translate and it said 11. Yeah, don't believe Google Translate. San or Som are some 1 syllable names I've seen. Yeah, you'll see lots of 1 syllable. There are 1 syllable names, like a lot. They're just not very common. Yeah, don't believe Google Translate. Google Translate, I remember trying it once where I put in, I kid you not, I put in this, k, which is just laughing in Korea. And Google Translate gave me back Naruto Shippuden or something like that. I kid you not. I can't remember exactly how it spelled it, but it was like some weird spelling out with Naruto as translation for k, which is just LOL. And then I had other times where you would remove one and then it would change it to like a swear word. Like it would just be yelling at you. Don't believe Google Translate. And on a similar vein, ChatGPT can do the same things too. Though it's better. It's better than Google Translate, but it's not perfect. Yeah, I know Naruto's Japanese. My costume experience. Does anyone want to know my costume experience? Being treated differently, wearing a mask? I can talk about it. I don't know if people really want to know about that or not. Yeah, take care, Keith. 2 people want to know. Okay, 3. All right. Okay, do it. Yeah, so for several years, I think this was 2019, I met up with Abby P, who was in the chat. I don't think she's still here, and I wore a no-face costume from the anime, the movie, Spirited Away. You know how he walks around and doesn't say anything and he carries these like gold coins? So what I did is I brought caramel Hershey's Kisses to Korea. So the reason is because they have a gold wrapper and they taste pretty good. And she got me the costume. So I wore the costume. I had my backpack underneath my back. So I had this big hunch and I legitimately felt like I am this character. I didn't have to talk unless someone approached me, like, you know, trying to, excuse me, can I please take your photo or whatever. I didn't have to talk. I was just kind of walking around making sounds and people would approach me and I would pull out of my pocket a bunch of these, you know, kisses. And I'd offer them and everyone like, oh, no. They like step back and I'm like, you know, I'd offer them the gold kisses. And if they take them, I'd like pretend that I'm going to attack them. So that's what I was doing at this convention. It was really fun. We did it for like a couple hours. And while I'm in there, though, no one can see that I'm not a Korean. In fact, this was a smaller convention. It wasn't like, you know, the main Seoul comic convention, kind of like a San Diego Comic-Con. It wasn't that one where lots of people go to. This was like a local Korean one where it's just Korean people and it's just in one area. So if you see the video, you can see it's really small. And so I had the benefit of, for the first time and only time in my life where I was assumed to be Korean by everyone around me. So I'm just walking around and parents would come up to me, oh, excuse me, in Korean. Oh, can my daughter take a photo with you? Can my kid take a photo with you? Whatever like that. And the way they talk to you is different than they would if they saw you were a foreigner. Because if they see you're a foreigner, like you don't look Korean, they speak to you a little bit different than if they know you're Korean. Now, this is a bit hard to explain. Maybe I'll make a video about it someday, but the way you get spoken to when you look like you're not Korean is different than the way they would speak to another Korean person for most people. Sometimes people will still speak to you regularly if they're comfortable with people who aren't native Korean speakers, but most of the time it's a different experience. It seems more polite, a little bit more polite. Like they're not censoring what they're saying. If I could say that, it's less filtered. They're not like being careful to say exactly what they mean. They're just kind of speaking, and a little bit more polite is how it felt. And I just remember it was like really cool. They weren't asking like, oh, where are you from? Oh, how'd you learn Korean? Nothing. It was just, hey, can I take a picture? Oh, thanks so much. I love your costume. Oh, did you make this? You know, just regular questions. I'm like, oh, yes, no. Oh, I didn't make, my friend bought it for me. Never had to know. They never knew I wasn't even a Korean person. It was just a great experience. People coming up to me and saying, oh, I'm scared of you, you know? And then after I left, I took off the costume and I see a bunch of people like staring at me. They're like, oh, it was a foreigner inside of there. So yeah, it was an unforgettable experience. ChatGPT doesn't know how many R's are in strawberry. Yeah, it's not intelligent, okay? If ChatGPT ever can do a good job of teaching Korean or speaking Korean or anything, you'll be the first to know. I'll let you know. I'll make a video on my channel, I promise. If ChatGPT can become able to explain things, I promise you I will make a video how to use it for learning Korean. Until then, it's next to worthless. There are use cases for it, and for me, it's very valuable as someone who already knows Korean. But as someone who's learning Korean and doesn't know where it's wrong, it's not good. You can have conversations with it and not even know that the conversation it's having with you is unnatural. You can ask it Korean questions and not even know that it's making up the answer or it's copying something it read on the internet, which is wrong. And as someone who does teach Korean, I can tell you a lot of the lesson material I find on Korean in English is wrong. So you're going to get that same stuff parroted right back to you from ChatGPT. So until it can actually think for itself and then realize, oh wait, that it says this, but I can realize that doesn't make sense because of this. Then if it can do that, I will recommend it to you. I would totally be out of a job and I'd be okay with it if there's something that can do a really good job like that. My dog just peed on the floor. So 시하다. There are other ways you can say this too. This is not the same as shida. Don't get this confused. Shida is to rest, to relax, to take a break. 쉬고 싶어요. 좀 쉬고 싶다. I just want to take a break. I'm just tired. 좀 쉬고 싶어. 너무 쉬고 싶어. 시하다 is not rest. This is to pee. So if you say, oh, 쉬하고 싶다, it's like, I gotta go, I really want to go pee. Oh, 너무 쉬하고 싶어. I just really want to go pee. So you can say 바닥에, like on the floor. 쉬를 했다 or 쉬했다. They peed on the floor. Don't get these confused. It's crazy how that is. I have a friend that's fully Korean, but she spent a lot of time studying abroad. One time she went to a hair salon and a lady told her she smiled different. Yeah. Oh, I can totally tell if someone's like Korean-born Korean versus American-born Korean. You can tell because the body language is different. The way that you react is different. The way that you make one of the biggest giveaways for me though is filler words. How someone uses filler words is it's an instant giveaway to me, whether someone's a Korean or not, no matter what they look like. If they are filling in all of the empty spaces, I can tell, oh, they weren't born in Korea. Because of it, like the way you behave, not just the way you speak, but the way you think is also different. If you're using Korean from South Korea versus Korean that you learned abroad. So if I hear someone speaking, they're like, blah, 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 or if they say a bunch, I can tell, oh, they learned Korean outside of Korea. So if you want to trick me into thinking that you're a native Korean speaker, don't fill in empty space when you're thinking. You can fill in empty space when you want the other person to know that you're still thinking, but don't fill up space if you're thinking for a long time, you can add in like some filler, like, oh, wait, hold on, or let me think about that. But if you have basic space when you're thinking about what to say within your sentence, leave it empty. That's a big way to trick me. I won't be able to tell that you're not a native Korean speaker if you do that. But if you're like filling it in, you're thinking, oh, I'm going to add filler to make myself sound more native because that's what everyone on the internet says. Add more filler words to sound more like a native. That's not true. They use filler words in their sentences, not when they're thinking, not in the breaks. Don't put it in the breaks. Put it in the sentences before the breaks while you're making your sentence. 저기 뭐냐, 있잖아. Use that in your sentences, sure. But then when you're thinking, 그래서 어저께, like that, leave the space open and you will sound way more native. Then you can use all the filler words when you're actually thinking, when you know what to say. And then when you're thinking, empty. Leave it awkward and empty. That will sound so much more like native. Korean cosplay convention with Abby P. Yeah. I think that was 2018. I filmed that. Yeah. 2018, I think. But we made a few videos. We made other videos again the year after. Oh yeah, I did a video on Abby's channel also where we did like a skit video of like things that you'll experience in Korea. I can't remember the video is called though. I've not been here in a while. Hey, Becca Turner. And this lesson was beyond my level, but it's been good to be back. I'm enjoying an apple while watching. Yes, the Apple lobby strikes again. I wonder if Japanese people do the same. I don't know. I don't have enough experience. I only have a few years of experience with Japanese, not enough to teach it. I would assume that they do, but I don't know. I haven't really paid attention to that. I pay attention with it for Korean. Let's see. Another thing is never use English filler. So, you know how we say, when we're thinking, you might not think it's a big deal. It's just saying, Koreans do that when they want to emphasize, to tell someone that they're thinking. So in English, we'll just say, to fill the space because we want them to know, hey, wait, I'm still thinking. In Korea, you don't do that. The only times you do it are when you want to communicate to the other person, wait a second, hold on. I know you're waiting for the answer. Give me a second. Then you would say, oh, like that. Like, I am thinking right now, give me a second. You do not need that though when you're just thinking of something normally. So if I hear someone saying, in their sentence, not right before they're going to give an answer about something, like not right before they give their opinion, but just in the sentence, 100% I know that they're not native Korean speaker. That's another really quick giveaway. Are they using ums and Because that's totally a English speaker trait, is saying in the sentence. Koreans, like I said, Koreans will do it right before they're going to express their opinion on something. And so they're saying just to mean, I am thinking right now of what I want to say. Whereas we use it just to fill in the space. Anytime we're thinking, we use it to fill in the space. So a short trick is just don't use it at all. That's the easy way. Just don't use it at all. Big Apple, yes. Big Apple, 3 a.m. If anyone gets that reference, let me know. 방금 바닥에 오줌. You can use 오줌. 오줌 is like, that doesn't mean my dog peed on the floor, but my dog urinated on the floor. 오줌 is the regular word for urination. So peeing. But yeah, you can say it. But your question was your question was peed, which is a different nuance. 깜빡했다 and 잊어버렸다. I've done a lesson about this. 깜빡하다, 깜빡 means to blink. 깜빡 is like blinking. So like flashing. If you say 깜빡했다, it's like temporarily forgot. Like I had a brain fart is 깜빡했다. Like I really just had a quick lapse of memory. I couldn't remember for a second. Whereas 잊어버리다 is completely forgot. So if someone wants to say, like if you remember something that you already knew and you just temporarily forgot it, you'd use 깜빡하다. But if you knew something and then you actually completely had forgotten about it, and if they didn't remind you, you wouldn't have, then you would say 잊어버리다. So that's like, it's gone from your memory. It's 잊어버리다. And 깜빡하다 is like, I forgot about it for a second. So most of the time though, if you want to say, I forgot, like someone tells you, did you remember that? You'd say, 잊어버렸어. I forgot. 깜빡했다. That's like you remembered yourself. 깜빡했다. That's right. I knew this and I just forgot it for a second, but now I remembered on my own. That's 깜빡. Whereas I knew this and I forgot, but I didn't even know that I forgot. Someone else reminded me, then, 잊어버렸어요. Like that. So that's the difference, but they both mean forget. Are there dialects you find really difficult to understand in Korean? Like how a deep Southern accent can be difficult in English? Yeah, any dialect that's spoken by an older person, someone older than like 70, is going to be difficult no matter where they're from. But young people, no. Among young people, there isn't such a thing anymore in Korea. There are some other Korean languages that are still spoken, like there's a kind in Russia, there's a kind in China. There are some other variations of Korean that can be difficult, but I wouldn't necessarily call them like just dialects because they're really just more like variations of the language that are from other areas. Besides those, though, not really. Not with younger people these days. Hey, Kai! I'm going to write Kai's name every single time. So Kai is on the board more than anyone else, more than the Apple lobby, even though I know the Apple lobby is the main sponsor of this video. Don't worry, I haven't forgotten you. You get what you paid for. Thank you, Kai. Just because I feel like it, says Kai. Also, what is the most annoying or frustrating question that you get often? I think the most annoying or frustrating question I get often is, what is the most annoying or frustrating question that you get often? In Korea, the most annoying question that I get is, why is your Korean so good? Because I know that they mean it as an honest question, so I have to actually answer it honestly, but it ends up leading into a conversation that I'd rather not have, because here's how it works. You go in, 안녕하세요, you say hello, you talk with someone, they say, you exchange a few words, and after your short conversation, especially if it's a short conversation, if it's a long conversation, you never get this because they get all the Korean curiosity out of their system by talking with you. But if you have a really short interaction, they're curious. They're like, this person speaks Korean. I have to know. How come they speak Korean? They legitimately want to know. How do you speak Korean? Well, I studied it myself. Wow. Where did you study it? I studied it in Korea. Wow. How long did you learn? Oh, I've been learning now almost 20 years. Wow. I can't speak English. Your Korean's great. And it kind of is like the same. I just don't like it because it's the same conversation over and over again. But I never react negatively to that question because I know every time they're asking it sincerely. They actually do want to know. It's not like a formality that they're just asking. They really are curious. But it's frustrating to me because it's always the same questions back to back to back. And then after the conversation's over, that's it. There's nothing else to talk about. Like, okay, all right, bye. Like they're satisfied now. So I like when you get to have a longer conversation with someone. So when I film my street interviews, I get to talk with people for about 5 minutes total. Each time it'll be like 1 minute where I'm introducing myself and getting the camera set up. maybe 2 minutes, 3 minutes while we're filming the actual interview, and then 1 minute after where I'm taking things down, putting my camera away, having them sign a release form, giving them some candy and saying thank you. And the kind of the questions I get after that are always, they're not the same questions. It's not, oh, how come you speak Korean so well? It's always something like, oh, wow, your Korean's really good. That's great. Why are you here in Korea? It's like, it's a more general question. It doesn't go to the same question because they already kind of figure out, oh, this person must have been studying Korea a long time. Maybe they live in Korea. Like they kind of can satisfy their curiosity through that longer conversation. So I like the questions I get after a long conversation much more than a short experience. Because if you just say hello, you're going to get, 한국말 너무 잘하시네요. 한국 사람인 줄 알았어요. 정말 잘하시는데 어떻게 이렇게 잘하세요? You're going to get these questions every single time if you just say hello. But if you get to have a full conversation with someone, these questions kind of go away. Then you'll get a real question. Like, oh, what do you like in Korea? Do you have a favorite food? Oh, have you traveled? Where have you traveled? Like they're more general questions that it's not always the same thing over and over again. Kai! Kai, you don't have to keep... Thank you, Kai. I have a donation. The Apple Lobby donated me to promote the apples, and now Kai is paying me to buy the apples. Which... 3, 4. Yeah, I could probably buy a big... Because the Pink Lady apples are really expensive. That's why I never bought them before. I think they're like a couple dollars each or something. But I'm going to go buy a Pink Lady apple now. Compensation for accidentally asking the most annoying question. Yes. Last one asks, Jeju is a separate language. Oh, speaking of apples. Not many people know this, but the city of Daegu. The city of Daegu is actually famous for apples. Traditionally, Daegu had a lot of apple farms. Nowadays, I don't think it's still like Korea's main apple exporter or anything like that. So people in Daegu might not know this, but like real Daegu people will know this, but Daegu is like a big apple region. So they have like, I got some apple bread when I went there. If you have a friend in Daegu, let them know that you know about their delicious apples. They'll probably be impressed. They'll be like, wait, how'd you know that? It's just a real random fact. And then last one asks about Jeju. So this is a big point of discussion. Now the word for Jeju dialect, you can either say Jeju Saturi or Jeju Mar. Is it a dialect? Is it a language? There is no right answer. There is no wrong answer. It's whatever you feel. There are arguments for why it's a language, and there are just as many arguments for why it's just a dialect. My opinion is it's just a dialect. But I will not argue against someone that says they think it's a language, because if it's a language, it's going to get more protection under, what is it? Not UNESCO. There's something like where it'll get more protection as being a separate language, because it's a dying language. There are fewer than 5,000 people in the world that speak this language natively. Now it's probably even less, because that number came from several years ago. There are only a few thousand native speakers left in the entire world of Jeju dialect, Jeju Mar. It's 70%. If you use real Daegu Mar, it's 70% different than South Korean, meaning 70% of the words that are used are not recognizable by people from the mainland. Does that mean it's a separate language? I mean, it works the same way as Korean, even though the grammar forms look different. It's like they are different versions of the regular versions. Like, 하겠다, like I would do it, I will do it. I think it's hakuda. Sorry, my Jeju is rusty because I never actually learned it. I only learned enough to make a video with generalizations over it to kind of give an overview, but I'm not gonna like spend years and years and years and years mastering it. So I only know a surface level amount of grammar and vocab and stuff like that. Is this like that different than this? 그람신지 모르쿠게. 모르쿠게. It's like you wouldn't know. It's from 모르다, to not know. Is it really a different word? Like, It's kind of, but it's still came from the same thing, and you can understand it. 고람신지 looks nothing like 말하는지 until you realize, well, until you probably wouldn't realize that this is like this is an older Korean word for speaking. So it doesn't use 말하다, but they have a different word like 골다, I believe, which is like to speak, to say. So is it a different language? It looks nothing like it, but it has the same sentence structure, the same particles, the same way the sentences work, but a lot of the words are different. Even different uses of the word are the same, like the word 삼촌 for uncle. 삼촌 means uncle, like your dad's brother or whatever like that, or 외삼촌 if you have like your mother's side or whatever. In Jeju, they say, well, you can say 삼촌. Now, 삼촌 also means uncle, but the usage of it is totally different. You can call literally anyone your 삼촌. It's just like saying, hey, excuse me, or you over there, 삼촌. Or calling someone like, hey, you, 삼촌, I have, literally you're calling everyone your uncle. So it's the same word, but the usage is different. So is it a different language? It's like, to me, it's like just the most extreme example of a dialect, but there are so many unique words that just aren't used in South Korean, so it's fine if you want to consider it a language. I think, though, it's more like a dialect because if someone already knows Korean, they could spend another year or so learning all the words and grammar and everything, and then end up speaking Jeju dialect without having to learn it like a separate language. It'd be like going from like Mexican Spanish to Spain Spanish. Like, yeah, that's really different, but is it really a different language? Kind of. Like British English to American English uses a ton of different grammar. Just imagine a more extreme, maybe a better example would be like, imagine someone's thick Scottish accent versus American English. Are they different languages? Well, it certainly sounds like a different language until you spend a little bit of time over there and you realize, oh, I see, it's English, but it's like, it's different. So yeah, I don't really know. I would say personally it's like a dialect, but it's sure a really different dialect. I'm a half Peruvian, half Korean friend that was born and raised in Ulsan. Okay, I know Ulsan. She looks half Korean, even speaking perfect Korean. She still gets complimented. Wow, your Korean's so good. Yeah, that would be annoying. That would be really annoying. Billy, why don't you dab? Oh yeah, I should dab. Does anyone who donated today want their dabs? I apologize for not dabbing during the live stream, but if anyone here wants their dabs, you can exchange them. $1 dab per $1. Let me know. Anyone who wants to exchange, I will exchange. Is 겠다 emphasis? No, that's a regular grammar form, future tense. Although it can also mean would, like would be, like it must be, like 힘들겠다, like it must be difficult. Oh, that must be difficult, like that. There's a language dialect called Scots. Yeah, and the thing is, like, what is linguistically, what is classified a language versus what's classified a dialect versus what's classified like pidgin? There are so many like terms, and there is no official answer. There's no definition of what a language is versus a dialect. It's whatever the people want to call it. Obviously, the way that I speak is different than how someone in New York speaks, but is that a different language? No one would say New York is a different language, even though they use different expressions, different words, different accents. Same with Texas. They might say, oh, you reckon it gonna be, I don't know how you talk. I'm sorry. I'm just trying to make a point here. Like, you reckon gonna be nice weather today? I don't know. Is that how you speak? I'm sorry. But like, for example, okay, it doesn't sound like how I speak, but it's ultimately just English. But then imagine like Appalachian English, like something that's like way out there. Like the guy from the one character from King of the Hill who speaks like that, or even imagine that it's like Creole English or whatever from like the Deadpool movie. If you saw Gambit, he was speaking Creole, like English. He was speaking English, but like from Creole, like Louisiana, a specific part of Louisiana. I hear, is that English? I didn't understand a single word that he was saying, but apparently he was speaking English. Is that a different language? It's kind of where I am with Jeju. Like, it's so different that you can't understand it, but is it a different language? And many people would argue, yes, because of that. Other people would say, no, it technically is still the same language. But then where do you draw the line? Where is it not a language? And where is it like it has to be a dialect? And this once it has this much difference, then it's a language. So I don't know, 100%? Does it have to be like 90% different to be a different language? Jamaican. Yeah, Jamaican. I actually, when I first heard it, I thought it was Jamaican just because I couldn't understand it. And then only later found out it was just English. The only Jamaican I know is from watching Cool Runnings. Jamaica, we have a bobsled team. 100 dabs. Do you want to cash in your dabs last one? Anyone who wants to cash in their dabs, let me know. You've got another couple minutes, then I'm going to leave. A language would have its own written and spoken system, while dialect only has a spoken system. You can say that. You can say that, but that's not an official consensus among linguists. Because is Cantonese a separate language from Mandarin? I mean, it sure seems like it because everything sounds different, but you could still read one of the other language. And they technically use the same writing, except Cantonese has different characters for some things. Anyway, yeah, it's a bit of a conundrum. It's like where do you draw the line on what's a dialect versus what's a language? Because dialects will also write things differently. Like if you just look at, like if you, for example, I guess the Gambit example I was giving you, Gambit, if you wrote down what he said, it also doesn't look like English until you read it like really slowly. And then you read like the explanation along with it. So it's also a spoken system. So then therefore it's a dialect. Okay. Then in that case, Jeju would also fall in the same category. Jeju would also be a dialect because it uses the Korean written system, but it does have an extra letter that they don't have in standard Korean. It has this, the areya. If you ever see like a dot, oops, that's a bad example. You've ever seen that? This sort of thing in Korean? This is the areya. Its sound is like, oh, I can't do it because I'm not from that area, but I'm just doing my best. Oh, it's kind of like an oh sound. That's in Jeju, still exists. Not in standard Korean anymore. Hey, Jocelyn. Oh, I'm running out of space. Thank you, Jocelyn. Jay-Z from Texas. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry if I offended you with my Texas accent. Just pretend I was doing a bad impression of Sandy Cheeks from SpongeBob. The stars at night are big and bright, deep in the heart of Texas. Yes, I love Texas, even though I've never been there. Never plan to go on there. A language is often considered more formal and clearly defined than a dialect. Yes, there are like general definitions of it, but then when do you classify it as a language? When do you classify Jeju as a language or as a dialect? I've heard arguments for both. Like I said, I'm personally on the side that it's a dialect, but I'm not strongly on that side. Although I am not strongly on the side of it being a language either. I think at its heart, it's Korean, but it's so different than Korean because it's been isolated for so long. But at the same time, when you say Jeju dialect or Jeju language, it doesn't really exist anymore. There are only a few thousand people who still speak it natively. The majority of Jeju that you're going to ever hear in your life, like none of you, if you go to Jeju, none of you are going to hear Jeju language. That's just a fact. You're going to hear Jeju dialect, the dialect version, which is just Korean with some expressions from Jeju language or Jeju dialect stuck in there. You're not going to actually get to hear the real Jeju language because there are only a few people who can still speak it like that, which is just the sad truth. If you want to know why there are only a few thousand people who speak it, you You'll have to do a little bit of Wikipedia searching of that. It's something that's very tragic. I don't want to go into on this channel, but there was something very tragic that happened. Something that Korea did to its own people. And that's the reason why there's like no one left who speaks it. So if you want to learn about that, learn about that on your own. I don't want to talk about that kind of stuff on this channel. It's very sad. Yeah, that song, the Texas song I learned is from Pee-wee's Big Adventure. That movie made me want to go to Texas, actually. Because I want to legitimately do that. I want to get off at the maybe Dallas airport, go outside and just sing that song. And I want to see if people are going to clap and sing it with me. I legitimately want to do it. Not like even joking. I just want to do it. Texas dabs. What's a Texas dab? Is that a Texas dab? I don't know, like you're like swinging like an iron, like big iron or something. I don't know. Does Ulleung-do have its own dialect? I mean, everywhere has its own dialect. If you want to get picky, Seoul has its own dialect. There is Seoul dialect. Believe it or not, there are aspects of the regular language spoken by Koreans every day in Seoul that spread to other parts of Korea but are originally from Seoul. Shio, that's the older one. They don't have that anymore. Yeah, there used to be a lot more letters. You're talking about the, I believe that's called Gyeongsiot, but I'm not positive. This one was like a soft, it's almost like a Z sound. And this one is still in North Korean, not this letter, but the sound. This in North Korean is more like a Z, it's more like a Z sound, almost like a soft Z. So instead of like tega, it's more like tsega. But you don't have to worry about that stuff because that's North Korean. Unless you try to visit North Korea and you get captured by North Korea and they force you to learn North Korean. Texas is a friendly place, so I think people would definitely clap. Yeah, yeehaw while you dab. Yeehaw! Hua! Hua! Yeehaw! It's horrible. I'm not doing that. Pansiot. Okay, thanks. Someone just came in that. Pansiot. Yeah, that makes sense. Pan meaning half. So like a half shiot. There are some other letters like the this one is the Gyeongbiep, which is I was thinking of. Or the Gabyeonbiep, which is this one. I actually did a video about this letter because it's important in Korean today, believe it or not. If you want to know about why does this letter have so many irregulars, I made a video all about exactly why, and it has to do with this letter. So I talk about that in my Korean FAQ. Oh, I see a donation. Last one standing. Hold on. What? Oh, I have to. Before I react, I have to translate. I have to convert it because I don't know how much is Big Apple sending me. How much is Big Apple? It's like $50, man. Big Apple, how much do you need this sponsorship? God, do you really want people to eat their apples? Now you're taking, I have to write it down here. It's going to take, if I don't write it down, it's going to take up the entire board again. It's like almost $51. I'll just put 51. Big Apple. What's with all Big Apple touch? There's going to be some legitimate representative from Big Apple being like, I don't even have to do anything. He's doing our job for us. Oh, what Apple do you want me to promote now? Last time it was Pink Lady, although I've never tried it. I'm going to try it. You know what? I'm gonna try Pink Lady Apple tonight. I'm gonna get a Pink Lady Apple tonight. I'm gonna go down. I don't know if Trader Joe's will have them right now. I'm gonna check. There are a couple stores I can check. I'm gonna get a Pink Lady Apple tonight and try that out. Is there another type of apple you want me to promote? Daigi Bjar says the Busan dialect is interesting. I loved Everything I've learned about every dialect I've really liked. Busan, it has a special place in my heart just because I lived there. But most recently, I totally liked the Daegu dialect. So I made a video about it, but it hasn't come out yet. But you'll see it in like a couple weeks. I did a video about the Daegu dialect in Daegu with a person who speaks perfect Daegu dialect. So it's pretty fun. Daegu dialect was a lot of fun. Join the pink side. 순 경험 비읍. Yeah. 순 경험 비읍, 경비읍, 가벼운 비읍. There are a few names for it. Same thing. That is a lot of pesos. Straight from the Mexican farmers that picked the apples and sent them to here in the US. I'm always grateful to the hardworking Mexicans who do that because there's no way I would want to do that. There used to be like a cherry farm. It was pretty far from my house when I was a kid. We'd drive there. I don't know, it's like a 2-hour drive or hour drive. I can't remember. There was like a pick your own cherry farm. And my parents used to take us when we were kids, and we would go there and it would just be a bunch of cherry trees and you would get a bucket and you'd pick your own cherries. They had ladders, and then you would get like a pound for like, it was dirt cheap. It was so cheap. So my parents would end up bringing home 2 of those, the paper grocery store bags, you know, those giant paper grocery store bags. We bring home 2 or 3 or 4 of those full of cherries, you know, freeze most of them and eat a bunch of them on the way, get diarrhea or whatever, but they're really good. And it was cheap because we would do the labor of picking them and everything and washing them. But because so many people liked that, because it was such a good deal, they ended up raising their prices. Now I think it's twice the price of buying them at the supermarket. Like, you're doing the work, but they still charge you more because it's now become an experience. So you're like paying for the experience of picking them yourself. It's just something I thought of. Pink lady and pink lady only. Okay. All right. I'm going to do it. I'm going to get a bag of pink lady apples. I'm going to eat nothing. Absolutely nothing but pink lady apples for 1 year. Watch me. And after, I'll share my experience in a video entitled R.I.P. Billy, 1986 to 2024. It'll be a beautiful video. I won't be filming it, but I assume some of my fans will make it. Do you think pure dialects will die out? Yeah, they already are. They're already mostly gone. Busan, Daegu, Jeollado. Yeah. The thing is, the only people nowadays who speak like thick dialect are the really older generation. I almost said really old people, but it's not so much that. It's like people who are in their 70s at the earliest, like 70s, 80s, 90s. That's the last generation of like strong dialect speakers. And obviously they're not going to be around forever, sadly. It's the same in Jeju. There are only a few thousand people in Jeju. There are more than that in other regions, but it's not the majority. And what's getting replaced with it is younger people. There are some younger people, though, who can still speak it. The reason is they were raised by their grandparents. And the person that I filmed the video about Daegu dialect with was one of those people. She was raised by her grandmother. So if you get that situation, which is pretty common, it was especially common a few generations ago, but still fairly common, where someone's grandparents will raise their kids, then you can still keep the language alive in like the full dialect and everything. But the majority of people, even if they grow up speaking a dialect, they tone it down when they meet their friends who don't speak like that. And they end up kind of forgetting it because you don't want to speak like, well, everyone, how's it going there? When you're talking with your, I think that was the car from that truck from Cars or whatever I think I was doing. Was it Larry the Cable Guy? Anyway, you don't want to be speaking like that around your other friends if they don't speak like that, because in Korea, they're going to make fun of you. So people kind of hide their dialects. So if you talk with people, they'll speak like standard Seoul, but when you ask them where they're from, they're not from Seoul, ask them sometime to try speaking in their dialect. They can probably still do it. They're just hiding it. They kind of repress it their entire lives because they don't have an opportunity to use it except when they're visiting with their family or when they go back to their hometown. So that's what it is in most cases. So yeah, the dialects are dying. I don't see that they're going to disappear anytime soon, except for Jeju, which is going to mostly. Most of the other dialects, they're just going to be more sparse. So people, when they say they speak dialects these days, it's really just a little bit of intonation. a few expressions. It's not really like very much. It's not thick. You wouldn't have a problem understanding what they're saying for the most part. This live stream is going really long. I'm gonna leave soon. I don't want everyone to have to stick around. But any other questions? How common is it for children to get raised by their grandparents? I don't know the percentage, but it's fairly common. I know several people who were. Larry, isn't that the guy who did the voice of Mater? Hey there, it's me, Mater. I think that was Larry the Cable Guy. I don't even know the comedian. I just think that name comes to mind. Is that right? I think so. That reminds me of Cajun French. Yeah, like yeah, I know what you're talking about. Last One Standing said, there must be a lot of dialects within North Korea that we'll never have access to, and it makes me sad. Yeah, because North Korea is really big. It's like as big as South Korea. And there are different local dishes. Like the most common one, naengmyeon. Naengmyeon is just cold noodles. This is a North Korean dish. It's been in South Korea for a long time, but recently, like less than a decade ago, it started to become more common to see another type of naengmyeon appear. Pyongyang. I believe it's hamhung is the other one. So the standard type of naengmyeon, which is just in a metal bowl, you put mustard sauce on top of it. It's brown noodles. It's served with ice and chopped up radish, like sweet radish. That's the standard kind you can find everywhere. You just call that naengmyeon. Pyongyang naengmyeon is the type that it's served warm and it has like a really light flavored broth, kind of like it's been like bone broth, like it's been boiled a little bit, but it's not a strong flavor. And there will be like slices of meat on top of it. So if it's served warm, it's usually Pyongyang naengmyeon. They're both good, although I know it's supposed to be cold, but it kind of has like a warm feeling to it. I don't know how to explain it. Maybe a light flavor is a better way to explain it. Light flavor versus strong flavor. They're both good, but until like a few years ago, I don't know, less than 10 years ago, this was the only kind you would find at most places was this. It was just called naengmyeon. But then this started to become popular too. They're both from North Korea. They're very different. But I mean, even their food is different in North Korea. The way they speak also, yes. You're probably only familiar with, if anything, you would only have experience with the North Korean Pyongyang style of speaking, which is the only like major city with like any sort of economy going on. But there are lots of other cities in North Korea and people are going to speak differently. I don't know how they speak in other places. I just know they're not going to sound like they do on TV in Pyongyang. So we'll never know. I don't see, this is outside of Korean language, but I personally don't see North Korea opening up as long as they can avoid it. They're not going to open up unless something big happens that forces them to open up. I never see them opening up. Just because of the way that their government's set up, the government leaders will not sacrifice their power. It's not going to happen. So I mean, it's sad. I really would love to go visit there, but I'm going to have to wait to see if it opens up. If it does someday, I will totally go there. There used to be a way to go in there legally. So there's a famous mountain range that goes into North Korea, and there's a famous mountain in there. I believe I'm thinking Kumgangsan, right? Hold on. Yeah. So Kumgangsan is a famous mountain. They actually have an expression in Korean. 금강산도 식후경이다. 식후 is, so this is the Kumgang mountain, also is 이다. 식, eating, after, sight. So it's a sight to see after you eat. Basically, like even something as beautiful as Kumgangsan, you want to make sure you're well fed to actually enjoy it. Don't go see it on an empty stomach. It means just make sure you're eating before doing something important. This is a regular Korean expression that you would say if you're like, hey, let's make sure we eat before we do something like this. It's going to be cool. Like, hey, should we go to the park first or should we do this, should we go eat? And you say, 금강산 식후경이라더니. Like, they say that even that is something you should experience after eating. So let's eat first. But that mountain is in North Korea. You can't go see it. But they used to have a tour group that was approved by the North Korean government that would bus people from South Korea into only that area of North Korea to go hiking, Kumgansan, and then take them back. It was really popular in like the 90s until the early 2000s, and then they shut it off. Now no one can go back there anymore. So, yeah, I feel like I don't see North Korea doing anything to try to fix the situation. The government there wants the terrible situation they have right now. They don't want to fix it. And it's just sad, though, for the people that live there. They're kind of stuck with that. The one tragic tourist incident. Yeah, I don't remember what the incident was. Something happened that made them want to close it. Are eggs expensive in Korea? No, they were for a short time, like extremely expensive, but that was like everywhere was. There was like a time when it was like $8 a dozen or something all around the world. In Korea also was even that same, but nowadays, it's kind of expensive, but nothing like insane. Unless it's changed again. I don't know what it is lately. Do you think North Korea and South Korea could ever be friends if Kim Jong-un passes away? No, I don't see it happening. In fact, I see it even getting worse because who would it go to? His sister. Is she better? No, probably not. I don't see it. I see realistically, it's possible they could reopen tours like to certain areas, like sort of like that. And then kind of go around saying, see, we want to work with South Korea. We want to work things out, but it would just be a farce. I don't see anything. I don't see actual steps that they would do to care about that. Yeah, I doubt that North Korea wants to do anything. It would be interesting, a video like street interviews in North Korea. I would totally do that. I would be first on the bus. If they open up tours to North Korea, like legally, safely, I would totally go over there and film some street interviews. Oh man, can you imagine how cool that would be? I would just walk around. I'd have like a friend film, just walk around Korea and like talk with people in Korean. Can you imagine like the reactions I would get as being because there aren't that many foreigners in North Korea who speak the language. There are some, but they're not going to be like walking around the street talking with people. That would be really fun. I would totally do that. It's the same repeating cycle of reconciliation, then extortion. Yep. We're going to destroy you if you don't give us food. We're all going to die if you don't give us food. Okay, thanks for giving us food. Psych! We're actually selling the food to get money to buy more missiles, which we're going to shoot you with if you don't give us more food. It's kind of like that sort of situation. It's like, getting kind of tired of it. But if you're wondering, what do South Koreans think? They know all this stuff. They're not like, every time in the news when it's like, oh, North Korea said they're doing this, you can ask your South Korean friend, like, oh, did you hear about North Korea did this? And they're going to be like, oh yeah, that's right. I think I read about that. Like, it doesn't faze them because they've grown up their whole life seeing all the stuff that goes on. So it's like, oh yeah, they did this. And like, they always do that kind of stuff. I think they get suspicious. Why would a foreigner speak Korean? Like they might be a spy. Yeah, I'm not sure. 이제 자야 된다. 라이브 스트림을 해줘서 고마워요. Yeah, thanks for coming. 와주셔서 감사합니다. Do you know this answer to this joke? 한국에서 가장 높은 산은? It's not like Santa Claus or something like that. What is the answer? I know it's going to be a dad joke. 고산? I don't know. I'm trying to think of what it could be. Nakasan. Okay. Nakasan is parachute, but it also kind of sounds like falling off a low mountain. Yeah. That one's not very good. That one's not very good. Let's see. If I watch a YouTuber that isn't from Seoul, but from Daegu or Busan or Gwangju or Jeollado, are their accent going to be mostly standard? Yeah. 99% of what they say, unless you hear like clearly they're using different intonation, they might have different intonation. That's what you're going to notice. But the actual words they use are going to be standard Korean. I know I follow several Korean YouTubers. Some of them are from like different areas. Like one's from Daegu I follow, one's from Jinju, one's from Busan, and they have the intonation of that area that they're from. But the actual words that they're saying are standard Korean, like 99% standard. With every once in a while, they'll throw in like a dialect style expression. But yeah, it's just going to be standard Korean. The only thing you'd want to worry about is you're going to be imitating that intonation, which you might not want because some of the intonation is very distinct. Like Busan intonation is actually different than Daegu intonation. Even though the words they use, the expressions they use are mostly the same, the intonation is different. So if you hear something, you can tell, oh, it's Daegu, or oh, that's Busan. So you have to be careful that you're going to be picking up that sort of different intonation. Even if I spend the whole day in a different area like that, I pick up that intonation subconsciously. So I spent like 2 days in Daegu during this summer, and after the end of each day, I found myself not intentionally, just accidentally saying a sentence, copying the intonation of my friend. And I like had to fix it because I'm like, oh, I don't want them to think I'm trying to copy them. But it just came out. What is the highest san? Yeah. Can Koreans from Seoul know where the others are? Know where other people came from just by hearing their intonation? So, to some extent, yeah. To some things, yeah. If they hear a specific expression that's from the area, then yes. Sometimes from the intonation, they might have a family member who's from that area. They'll be like, oh, are you from here? My dad talks like that, or something like that. Or, oh, I heard my uncle's wife talks like that. So, yeah. Did the Daegu summer live up to its reputation? Yes. Although the day that I went there wasn't their hottest day, it was randomly the coolest day of that week. It was like the coolest day of the month and the coolest day of the week. There were like 2 days that I went. Right then, it was like really nice. So I just dressed like this and I was nice and cool the whole day. But the very next like couple days after that, it was super hot again and super humid. But normally, yeah, it's very bad. They call it Tepurika, which is like Daegu and Africa, Afrika. Tepurika, they call it, because it's just ridiculously hot during the summer. And I mean, it's just kind of like the city location. I don't know why, it's just extra hot. It's hotter than other places. Okay, I should go because I have to edit the video that I did. I made a lot of money today from the Apple the Apple lobby. So from the Apple lobby, I have a message to all of you to remember, an apple a day keeps the doctor away. And isn't a $1 apple a lot cheaper than a $500 dentist visit? I think so. So remember to eat your apples. Everyone, thank you for coming, and I will see you again next time. 그럼 다음에 또 봐.